Hey guys, tonight we're cracking open a sea captain's secrets, the kind that'll make you side-eye your IKEA desk. Picture this, a brass-clasped chest in a Venice attic, salt-crusted and shuddering like it's still riding waves. You kneel, knees protesting the hardwood, and wrestle the latch. Hinges groan like a ghost cruise chorus. Spoiler, you probably won't survive what's inside. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your location and local time. Let's map where this story's rippling. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. The lid creaks open, a whale's jawbone yawn. Salt cellar air hits you first, decades of dried seaweed, and monsoon rains bottled tight. Your phone flashlight glints off something wrong. The chest's interior arches like a ship's ribs, every timber warped by 100 voyages. Maps nest inside, cracked parchment babies, swaddled in moth-eaten silk. You lift the top sheet, its edges crumble like burnt cookie crust. Blue dye smears your thumb, an ocean fading to bone-white continents. Historians still argue whether Venetian captains encoded treason in their logs, or just bad poetry. The map whispers Barcelona, Alexandria ports that once dripped with black pepper and lies. A moth flutters up, powdered wings brushing your wrist. You freeze, half expecting the whole chest to disintegrate. Silk threads, stitched trade routes, crimson yarn, pulled taut between greed and survival. Fun fact, Venice once traded enough spices to choke a sultan's elephant. The yarn snags, a snapped thread ending mid-sea. Guess even merchants had bad days. Beneath the maps, a logbook bound in what's definitely not cowhide. The cover flexes like can't be human skin. Let's say shark. Sure. Pages stick together, salt-glued secrets. You pry them apart, ink-blot constellations swim. A margin note screeches. May 14, RATIONS, HALVED, crew eyes the CABINS. Classic HR nightmare. Something clinks. You tilt the chest, 3 musket balls roll out, followed by a tooth. Human, horse, the tooth winks up, a jaunty survivor. Your fan whirs, suddenly loud as rigging in a hurricane. Maps ripple, their coastlines merging. Is Syracuse crawling north? A sketch slips free, a woman's face rendered in ship's tar. Her eyes follow you, Byzantine coins pressed into paper. Quirky tidbit, sailors believed maps sung lullabies if you slept on them. You lean closer. The chest exhales bergamot and despair. Your neck prickles, maybe from dust, maybe the weight of dead men's cargo. The darkest map glistens, thick strokes of squid ink midnight. It charts no coast, just spirals coiling into a vortex. Historians would slap each other over this. Is it a whirlpool or a metaphor for taxes? Air shifts, the porthole behind you rattles. You glance over your shoulder. Just the fan, probably. When you look back, the top map's shifted. Constantinople now aligns with your water glass. Coincidence, or maybe Venetian ghosts dig hydrohemies. The chest's shadow stretches, suddenly clawed. You cough, lungs full of history's toenail clippings. Time to bail. Nah. One more document, a letter sealed with blood-red wax. You chip it open. The script swoops, a lover's hand or a forger's flick. Forgive the ink blots. The storm writes with me. Floorboards creak. You're 87% sure it's the building settling. The maps seem thicker now, layers overlapping, Genoa overlaid with Mumbai overlaid with, is that a Starbucks logo? Blink. Gone. Maybe ease up on the kombucha. You press a palm to the chest's ribs, it thrums. Not wood, something older. Whalebone. Warship splinters. The answers buried under 16 more layers of nope. Your phone dies. Darkness swallows the room. The maps glow faintly, moon-fed phosphorus, or total sleep deprivation. Wind sneaks through the window, a Baltic gust smelling of pine and payroll cuts. The fan's hum syncs with your pulse. Maps rustle an armada of paper soldiers. That one's vibrating, no. Your hand's just shaking. Captain's log entry floats up, dreamt of mermaids voting. They chose war. Silk threads snag your sleeve, anchoring you to the dust, the dimness, the dread. Last chance to nope out. You inhale, lungs full of mothballs and poor decisions, and peel back the final layer. Vellum sticks to your skin, a temporary tattoo of someplace that shouldn't exist. The chest sighs, and so do you. The brittle parchment rasps against your fingertips like sandpaper dipped in salt. Blue dye bleeds outward, turning seashell margins into tiny oceans. You recognize the pigments, metallic sheen, Tyrian purple, once worth its weight in gold, smashed from Mediterranean sea snails, a Venetian cartographer's flex. But the ink's running now, veins of azure spreading like slow poison. Your nail follows a coastline's jagged teeth, Zanzibar, Malabar. The route dissolves halfway, eaten by time or tide. Historians still argue whether Akrotiri's 16th century phantom isles were mirages or islands drowned by some arrogant god. Here, the captain pinned his hopes, a dotted line to fresh water and ghosts. One stroke lifts, your thumb smudging a trade post into oblivion. Oops, now it's just a blob with delusions of grandeur. A fleck of eggshell crust clings to the corner. Medieval mapmakers used it to bind pigments. Quirky, sure. Practical. The captain probably cursed every chalky morning, stirring his coffee with a compass. You lean closer. The vellum smells of mildew and forgotten lunch. A single hair lives in the fibers, silver and coiled. His, hers. The debate committee's adjourned. Candlelight flickers as you find the lost island, a teardrop shape shaded with cross-hatched storms. X marks the spot. If X means here be the worst Tuesday ever. Legends whisper of Hybrasil, a misty realm that surfaces every 7 years. But this blotch sank for good. Did he sail there only to find waves chewing rock? Or did he copy some drunk Florentine's doodle? The map stays mum. You flick a breadcrumb off the edge, startled when it bounces. Wait, that's not crumbs. It's gunpowder grains fused to the corner. A battle snack. A love letter to chaos. The parchment kvetches as you flatten it, revealing numbers in faded red. 23, 14, 7. Latitude or lottery picks. Either way, the house always wins. A joke curls in your throat, something about antique maps being the original here today, gone tomorrow travel guides. Too mean. The candle dims on cue, judging you. Fine. You trace the vanished route again, each falter in the ink, a reef he dodged. Or didn't. The island's outline wavers, a coastline stitched from hope and bad intel. You almost miss the stain near the compass rose, wine or blood roulette drowning the words. Calm winds under a rusty tide. Outside, foghorns blare a duet with the chest's old hinges. You shiver, and the map whispers what all dead things do. I was someone's North Star once. The ink blurs further, blue smearing into white. By dawn, even ghosts need naps. Moonlight slices through the porthole, spotlighting the logbook splayed like a gutted fish. Its pages curl each monsoon season recorded in frantic scribbles. August 15th, 1598. Rigging torn asunder God's teeth. Waves taller than the campanile. You smirk. Real subtle, Captain Obvious. A water stain blooms across October, smearing cursed winds into cursed winds. Historians still argue whether Venetian captains tracked monsoons for science or to document their own bad luck. Your pinky brushes a name, Lorenzo de Mar, circled 13 times in iron gall ink. 13 voyages, or 13 prayers drowned under 7 bells. 3 dates repeat, July 17th, 1902, 1903, 1904. Each entry shrinks like a tide pool. 1902. Lorenzo insisted the shoals were safe. 1903. Lorenzo mistaken. 1904. A single line buried at sea with his charts. The grief feels fresh, salt crusting the page where wax dripped. Or maybe that's just ancient snot. You snort, morbid. But hey, at least he didn't write a sea shanty about it. The next page crackles inked constellations plotted with obsessive crosses. Navigators in the 1500s used these star maps, though half the time they were just connecting drunk dots. A coffee ring obscures Ursa Major because even celestial bears need caffeine. Between entries, bizarre doodles, a squid playing a lute, a mermaid arm wrestling Saint Nicholas. Quirky, absolutely. Practical. Maybe cabin fever hits harder when rations run low. Your thumb finds a brown smear, gunpowder baked into the vellum. Some captains mixed it with ink to explode important verbs. Because nothing says reef ahead like pyrotechnic penmanship. The candle gutters, shadows pooling in the logbook's creases. You squint at blurred numbers, latitude 45. 14. Did they even have GPS? A joke about celestial navigation being the original where's Waldo dies in your throat. The names double Lorenzo, Lucia, Lamentations in cramped margins. Crew roster or requiem, the ship's cat, gets more legible entries, complete with fish ration complaints. Outside, waves slap the hull in thirds. The logbook's spine groans as you shut it, sealing Lorenzo's final fixated latitude against your palm. Maybe he rests where the stars dip low, or maybe he's still correcting charts in Davy Jones' locker. The porthole fogs over, and for once, the sea stays quiet. The next layer sticks miles of crimson yarn, spiderwebbing across vellum seas. You pluck a thread, silk so thin it hums. Venice once traded these strands for spices by the ton, though the scales always tipped toward nutmeg. A whiff of centuries-old pepper stings your nose, or maybe that's just dust from Marco Polo's attic. Each knot marks a port: Calicut, Hormuz, Malacca. Your thumbnail skims a coiled route to Zanzibar, where cloves grew wild until sultans claimed the trees. Deckhands called those isles the islands that make ships drunk. Not from wine, from the scent alone. You picture sailors trading silver buttons for cinnamon, then sewing their shirts shut with regret. One yarn leads to Mombasa, its stitch frayed where Portuguese cannons ripped the coast. Historians still argue whether spices funded more wars or just seasoned them. A beetle hole pierces Java's label nature's critique of colonial bookkeeping. Faded numbers crowd margins, 92 ducats per ton for ginger, 43 for live cargo, crossed out twice. Oh good, they hesitated before shipping parrots. The ink glints green where squid light once bled, or maybe that's your phone's glare. A splotch mars the salon node. Tea stain, opium tincture. 18th century captains used both to sweeten trade deals. You lean closer, tiny teeth marks dot the corner. Ship rats testing the merchandise, or a bored first mate sampling exotic herbs. The silk resists unraveling 10 generations of salt glue. Venetian galleys hauled 3 million pounds of pepper annually at their peak, enough to make every nun in Europe sneeze. Your pinky hooks a loop near Alexandria. The thread snaps, releasing a curl of saffron-dyed dust. Top-tier sneeze fuel between Aden and Goa. A doodle of 2 men arm wrestling over a clove basket. The victor's beard sprouts pepper grains. Quirky, sure, accurate. Dutch merchants once held nutmeg hostage, literally burning crops to spike prices. Capitalism, the original arsonist. A blue thread snakes off-map toward Antarctica. Lost in translation or a cartographer's joke. The captain jotted dragons beside it. You snort, then freeze. Sea serpent myths often sprouted where warm, cold currents clashed. Bioluminescent eels could have fueled that lie. Moonlight stripes the yarn into prison bar shadows. You trace the Malacca route, blood-red highways where empires bled out. Nostalgia hits hard for a world that priced everything but breath. The silk trembles like rigging in a phantom wind. Outside, waves hiss like escaping steam. The map folds itself, smuggling cinnamon and ghosts into the vellum. Somewhere a 300-year-old monkey grins with stolen nutmeg in its cheeks. You brush aside saffron-dusted threads and freeze. Beneath them, a compass rose bleeds rust and suspicion. Its northern arrow slumps toward a kraken's inky tentacles, like a weather vane bucking a hurricane. 16th century navigators knew magnetic north wobbles, but this screams artistic rebellion. The creature's eyes gleam with malachite pigment, same green as Venetian canal algae. You half expect it to wink. Krakens haunted maps for centuries. Cartographers code for here, be pissed off squids. Experts think Mediterranean octopuses inspired the myth. Others blame Viking ale. Each compass point wears damage. East's fleur-de-lis chips away tiny axe marks. West's anchor doodle drips oxidized silver. You sniff, patina smells like burnt almonds. Portuguese sailors used mercury to preserve charts, died twitching for their trouble. A splintered ruler crosses the rows. Your thumb finds grooves where someone drew and erased and redrew longitude lines. Here's the history class nugget. Greenwich Mean Time wasn't standard until trains needed schedules. Before that, every captain's sundial sang its own tune. The kraken's tentacles curl into numbers, XV, IX, XVII. Dates, coordinates, a shopping list for calamari ink. You smirk, then pause. In 1509, Ottoman fleets patrolled these latitudes. Coincidence, or a coded invasion route? Moonlight glints off something wedged in the vellum. Tweezering out a sliver reveals whalebone. X-ray scans of medieval maps show animal fragments mashed into paper. Sustainability before it was trendy. This piece angles toward the kraken's mouth, maybe a bookmark, maybe bait. The compass shudders under your breath. Blow harder, north jitters toward Tunis. Magnetic declinations, a bitch. Modern GPS would have saved this captain some spiral-bound notebooks. Historians still argue whether Age of Sail types were brave or just terrible at math. One tentacle loops into a word, mare tenebrosum, medieval slang for Atlantic waters. Quirky bit. Legends claimed its waves dissolved compass needles. Truth. High iron content messed with lodestones. Sailors called it the ocean's grudge. Your phone light reveals UV ghosts, a draft compass underneath. This one points true north, but someone etched over it. Why redirect sailors toward doom? Mutiny insurance, bad betting debt. The kraken's grin suggests it knows. A dried barnacle crumbles under your sleeve. Saltwater acne. These maps are teens in sailor bodies. You flick grit away. 1784's Paris Meridian Conference tried unifying measurements. Spoiler, France lost. The kraken's longitude stays defiantly wrong. Rot seeps through the rose's center. You dab it, blotting paper drinks burgundy, iron gall ink, or claret from a stressed-out captain's dinner. Both corroded faster than his sanity. The chest creaks, its own North Star groaning. You press the compass flat, it warps back into a Kraken-flavored lie. Navigation by monster might explain his career choices. Wind howls through a cracked porthole. The rose's broken arrow spins, dust motes doing a waltz. Somewhere, a squid uncurls in deep black and laughs. The compass roses, rust stains your palm. A metallic tang sharp as defeat. You turn the vellum, and the world tilts into smoke. Charred coastline shadows swim beneath your fingertips, bastions reduced to ashy smudges. 1798's Battle of the Nile lurks here. Napoleon's fleet sank, chewing British cannonballs. A crab-like stain scurries across Gibraltar. You squint. Is that gunpowder stippling, or a desperate ink-blot self-portrait? Warships were floating tinderboxes. Trebuchet fire meets stored black powder. Experts found fuse holes in recovered French carronades, probably not OSHA-approved. Your nail traces a jagged coast, Libya, Malta. The map coughs soot. Cartographers often copied battle charts from drunk captains' ramblings. History tip: most strategic genius was just decent alcohol tolerance. A rust-colored blotch blooms where sails should be. Blame iron gall ink's habit of bleeding, or maybe actual blood. Venetian surgeons doubled as battlefield artists. Their scalpels sketched wounds onto maps. Quirky fact: sailors used crushed barnacle glue to patch their own injuries. Pinholes dot the Mediterranean where admirals pinned their hopes. You press one, it crumbles. 17th century naval tactics relied on the wind's mercy and not dying immediately. Something glints in a bay's curve. Tweezers extract a fish scale, iridescent despite centuries. X-rays of Ottoman wreckage revealed tuna bones in sailors' pouches. Emergency rations or gambling chips. The chart crackles, a sound like distant musket fire. Your breath stirs a fleet of ash ships. Historians still argue whether Admiral Brueys wore that red waistcoat to motivate troops, or because he lost a bet. Mold creeps up Sardinia's coast, nature's own scorched earth policy. You sniff, decomposing linen smells like a sailor's laundry hamper. England's Royal Navy washed uniforms in urine. Stain removal or hazing ritual. The debate continues. 3 inky arrows converge on a smudge labeled El Orient. The French flagship exploded here, vaporizing 2/3 of its crew. Sunken timber still holds gold louis in its marrow and teeth. Your sleeve grazes the edge. The paper flakes like burnt skin. 18th century map preservation involved egg whites and prayer. For this chart, the prayer clearly bounced. A wine-dark spiral marks the Nile Delta. Isotope analysis could prove it's Merlot or hemoglobin. But why ruin the mystery? Some stains deserve their privacy. You tilt the vellum, salt crystals glitter like panic sweat. The day after battles, survivors scraped deck salt to cure dysentery. Tasted like despair and poor life choices. Moonlight bleeds through a cannonball hole, projecting Malta onto your wrist. You could wear this ghost island like a watch, if it had existed, which it didn't. The chart tears along a stress fracture, a dry riverbed of pulp. Conservationists would scream, "You're just eavesdropping on dead men's bad days." A fingerprint stains Alexandria's harbor whorls eroded by haste. Yours matches it eerily. Time folds, you're both pressing urgency into paper. Iron filings cling to your palm, magnetic even now. Sailors swallowed them to align inner compasses. Modern translation: lead poisoning with extra steps. You exhale, the battle slips back into its ashen coffin. Some maps starve for attention. This one whispers, "Let the dead blunder in peace." Wind slaps the porthole, your shadow becomes a sinking prow. The chest creaks its agreement and pretends not to smell of smoke. The salt still stings your palms as you lift a new chart, this one pressed flat as a sailor's last wish. Stars puncture the vellum, each hole a painstaking prick. Ptolemy mapped these constellations. If you ignore the squid ink mermaids winking between them, you tilt the page, celestial grids warp into fishing nets. Historians still argue whether medieval cartographers drew sirens to warn sailors or just to troll them. A kraken tentacle loops around Orion's belt. Someone had fun with this. A mermaid's tail smudges halfway into Cassiopeia, like she's diving through the cosmos. Did you know Renaissance apothecaries sold siren tears as love potions? Ground sea glass and gull bile sold better than tinder. Your thumb finds a wax drip by Ursa Major, sealing some long-dead joke. 15th century Venetian ships carried astrolabes and astrology pamphlets. Crewmen checked horoscopes before storms. Taurus, avoid aquatic dilemmas. Great. An inkblot siren grins where Jupiter should be. Test audiences prefer myths to math, even then. Navigators memorized star patterns as stories. The Big Dipper, just God's soup spoon. You blow dust off Draco the dragon. It tastes like attic and crushed pearls. Ocean air preserves vellum and desperation. Quirky tidbit: narwhal tusks were marketed as mermaid fingers. Sold faster than indulgences. 3 mermaids harmonize in the Magellanic clouds. Their mouths are perfect O's, mid-song or mid-scream. Spanish galleons logged mermaid sightings near coral reefs. Descriptions match dugongs doing breaststroke. A shooting star streaks across the map, added with silver leaf flake. Wealthy captains commissioned these cosmic corrections for the price of a cabin boy's wages. Your nail snags on the Pleiades, a constellation of pinpricks. Ancient Polynesians steered by starlight, chanting stories to remember patterns. Tonight, you'd Google it. One mermaid cradles Neptune's trident, or maybe it's a harpoon. X-rays of this map show 6 paint layers. The mermaids came last. Wishful afterthought. A coffee ring stains Andromeda, caffeine being the real navigational aid. Columbus, crew allegedly mutinied over bad brew. Modern reenactors confirm seagull poop coffee kills morale. The Southern Cross tilts, its lower star smudged by a thumbprint. Radiocarbon dating matches the paper to Marco Polo's era. But that's a lie maps tell to feel important. You press Vega's star, it fluoresces faintly. Some charts used glowworm extract for night reading. Storage tip: don't store worms with maps. Or do. Entomological surprise: a whale breaches Ursa Minor tail, curved like a bishop's crook. Whalers believed cetaceans whispered to sirens. Hence the harpoon hymns. Hence the extinction. Barnacle glue seals a torn corner of Leo. Conservationists call it sacrilege. Sailors called it Tuesday. You call it wiggly. You rotate the chart. East Indies become west. North bleeds into south. Milton wrote paradise was purely mental, same as this mermaid's anatomy. Moonlight floods the porthole, star dots glow like plankton. For a second, the mermaids swim. Then it's just ink and longing. The chest exhales brine, or maybe that's you sighing. Some maps navigate reality. Others let drunk cartographers flirt with muses. Roll it up. The stars can keep their secrets. The vellum feels different here, thin where Venice's canals should be. Rialto bridge arches halfway, then dissolves like sugar in wine. You've seen miniatures where gondolas glide. This map's boats end in splinters, as if the quill ran out of wanting. Tourist pamphlets claim Venetian ink held crushed dragonflies for shimmer. True, nah, but real talk, their map makers used mercury-laced pigment. Hence the tremors, hence the masterpiece. You press a finger to San Marco's half-drawn campanile. 16th century surveyors hung plums from its peak to map the city. Here the lines quiver like plucked lute strings. Historians still argue whether Renaissance Venice was mapped as it stood, or as it dreamed itself. A gondola's prow floats in blank space, no hull beneath. Quirky tidbit: master cartographers competed to hide self-portraits in canal swirls. Spot one, legends say, and you inherit their sins. Hard pass, the Grand Canal frays into stray ink threads. One leads to a coffee stain, masquerading as Piazza San Marco. The lion of St. Mark lacks wings, just a housecat yawning. Doge's palace walls blur into watercolor fog. Venice banned street maps after the 1574 fire, afraid invaders would exploit the chaos. Jokes on them. Your sock drawer sparks more terror. Rain seeps through the porthole. A drop swells where the arsenal's docks should be. Iron Fleet shipyards once launched a warship daily. Now, a damp Rorschach test. You squint at a smudged caption. Hic sunt manes, here lie ghosts. Original Venetian maps labeled unmapped areas with lion emblems. Personal touch, or a drunk scribe's therapy session. Moonlight hits the vellum, sudden glints in empty spaces. X-rays revealed gold leaf under these blanks. The captain gilded what he couldn't face. Modern shrink move. Wind shifts the page, canals ripple. For a heartbeat, you're balancing on a narrow boat. 1592 year, they outlawed gondola races after a cardinal capsized. Priorities. Your nail catches on a hardened glue glob. Conservationists say Renaissance map repair used pigeon egg yolk. You say someone sneezed mid-mending. The truth, stale pastry residue. San Giorgio Maggior's bell tower lacks its angel. Church records show lightning struck it 7 times. Coincidence? The map's charcoal storm clouds suggest not. Murano's glass-blowing island is a single red dot. Artisans once executed for fleeing with trade secrets. Overblown, most just got fined and side-eyed at carnivals. A salt crust outlines the Jewish ghetto's edge. Venice confined Jewish residents here in 1516, first ghetto ever. The map omits the walls. Wishful omission or fading ink. You peel up a corner, something winks beneath. A sketched octopus gropes the underside. Ottoman maps hid sea monsters near enemy ports. Psychological warfare or tick-tock of its day. Breath steams the parchment, canals fog. 1489, Da Vinci proposed draining the lagoon. The Great Council laughed. You wonder, would the chest float better? Tides pull the ship. The map rustles, edges crumbling like biscotti. Venice sinks 2 millimeters yearly. So do your hopes for intact cartilage. You refold the vellum along phantom creases. Some maps end mid-stroke because the quill broke. Others because the heart did. The chest clicks shut, a tongue swallowing its tail. The chest clicks shut, but something shifts inside. A secret panel springs loose. Your thumb finds the groove every sailor's air instinctually seeks. Out slides a jade figurine, moss green and salt-pitted. She's all waves and wrath, a goddess clutching an anchor like a scepter. 16th century Venetian traders hauled this stone from Burma's Mogok mines. Green nephrite worth its weight in pepper. Yet her craftsmanship's Fujianese. Go figure, fingertips glide over barnacle scars. The carving's been submerged. Quirky fact, Ming Dynasty smugglers stuffed cinnamon sticks into hollow jade Buddhas. Smell this one. Just mildew and regret. Her eyes follow you. 2 chips of obsidian, reflecting your own face, miniaturized. Historians still argue whether such figures were tossed overboard to calm typhoons, or just fancy paperweights for drunk captains. You vote typhoons. Not that anyone asked. One earring dangles, a pearl once wedged in the lobe long gone. Bet that's why her smirk seems lopsided. Renaissance sailors swapped trinkets with Sumatran royalty, maybe part payment for nutmeg monopolies. Now, a garage sale reject. You turn her base, crusted symbols shimmer under candlelight, Venetian title charts. Nah, just scratches from centuries of nervous thumbs. Ever seen a CEO's stress ball? Same energy. Rain taps the porthole. The goddess's seaweed hair seems to sway. Venetian archives mention jade storm idols on Admiralty ships. None survived. Unless you count eBay listings. Spoiler, they're fakes. The anchor's fluke hooks your sleeve cold as a wet rope. Her robe ripples in carved currents. A museum label would call this votive offering. You call it the reason my coffee's now spilled. Pigeon bones rattle inside her chest cavity. Macabre. Standard practice for Ming Dynasty talismans, although usually dove bones, same difference when you're desperate. Her fist grips the anchor shaft, knuckles white, if jade could pale. Rumor says captains whispered confessions to these idols. No priests aboard. Improvise. Hold her up. The pitted eye sockets trap lamplight. X-rays found lead plates in similar figures. Navigation aids, or just ballast for shady bookkeeping. Your nail taps the anchor's ring, a hollow clink. Legends claim Coxinga, the pirate king, melted Jesuit jade into cannonballs. Unlikely. But this goddess, she'd approve. A chip on her shoulder, literally, hosts a fossilized barnacle. Marine archaeologists go gaga for that. You prefer your crustaceans buttered. The ship sways, her tilted crown mimics the floor's pitch. Venice's Marco Polo codes mandated jade cargo be triple sealed. Too bad his journals don't mention termites. Warmth seeps from the stone. Or maybe your palms sweat. 16th century mercenaries believed jade detected poisons. Your ex never triggered it, case closed. Turn her sideways. Suddenly she's drowning. The anchor's no scepter, but a millstone. Ever tried Renaissance therapy? Carve your trauma and hope it sinks. Moonlight hits the pearl socket, a brief silver wink. Portuguese nous smuggled raw jade as serpentine to dodge taxes. Customs agents, historically bad gemologists. Dust motes swarm her missing earring hole. Inventories from the Doge's vault listed 7 jade deities. Found 6. Congrats, you're the problem. Her toes curl under like mid-step on a phantom deck. Archaeologists found similar figures in the Java Sea wreck of the Esmeralda. Coincidence? Let's say tax evasion. You set her down, she tilts toward the porthole, toward Venice or Burma. Either way, her storm secrets stay sealed for now. The goddess's tilted gaze leads your hand to the Sicily map's crease. A corner lifts too easily. Folded there, brittle as moth wings, a sheaf of letters fused by salt. You peel the first page. Ink bleeds into grain like veins. Smells of bergamot and brine. Renaissance perfumers soaked Sicilian citrus rinds in writing water, scented letters being the 16th century version of a swipe right. The script loops every E, a heart tilted sideways. Her hand rushed here. Lorenzo. The oranges bloomed early, then blotted. Tyrrhenian storms delayed Venetian cargo fleets by weeks. Coincidence? Mediterranean merchants still track citrus seasons for optimal sale dates. Some habits die sticky. A wine stain pools under the date 1496. Harvest was lousy that year. Ottomans blockaded Corfu, Venice's groves went to rot. Historians still argue whether the scarcity birthed limoncello or just desperation cocktails. You lick your thumb, regret it instantly. Tastes like a salt lick dressed in old spice. Her next lines quiver. They say you anchored at Messina, yet no courier dove swam to me. Actual fact, Sicilian nobles trained cormorants to deliver scrolls. Failed spectacularly. Turns out birds prefer fish to love notes. Sunlight slices through a porthole. The word betrothed dissolves into sepia ghosts. Her father's pick. A Spanish wool baron. Basic. Your nail catches on wax. A melted wedding band pressed into the margin. Gold too pure, warped by body heat. Cremation rings were customary, but melting one's engagement jewelry. That's Renaissance-level petty. Linen fibers cling to the L in Lorenzo. Ship's clerks used sails as writing desks. Hemp threads in handwriting proved provenance. Smart, till your breakup letter gets cocked into the hull. Turn the page, suddenly Latin, liturgical phrases. Nope. A recipe for almond milk. Monks near Palermo swapped gourmet tips for Venetian glass beads. Quirky monks, the original food bloggers. The longest letter's end is lost, eaten by silverfish or something hungrier. Words fragment. Moonless. Hull's belly, our son, you freeze. Venetian maritime law barred captains from carrying familial attachments past Gibraltar. But rules rarely stuck to men who named their cannons. A sketch falls loose, childish spirals mimicking curls. DNA tests on similar letters found in Cadiz linked one to a Doge's bastard line. 2. Bad ancestry. Com doesn't do 15th century illegitimacy. Rusted pins staple a dried gardenia to the last sheet. Sicilian, widows wore them during mourning. Petals hold shape for decades. This one crumbles at your breath. 17 seconds. That's how long guilt lingers after destroying history. Blue ink resurfaces, here a different hand. His, rough capitals. Land, ho, your eyes were the chart. Sailors believed lovesick captains scribbled worse than drunk ones. Navigation logs from Malta confirm 23% more reef crashes during epistolary seasons. The seal, a split pomegranate. Aragonese royalty's emblem. Wait, her betrothed's crest was a sheep. Uh-oh. Plot twist, she upgraded. Archaeologists found such emotional redirects in 12% of excavated love letters. Turns out heartbreak fueled the Renaissance's best sonnets and worst life choices. Mold claims the final stanza, except forgive me, always those two words. Carbon dating matches the ink to Columbus's 1493 return voyage. Coincidence? Sure. But tilt the paper water stains align with the Caribbean's latitude. Some maps bleed in stereo. You refold the letters along their ancient creases, muscle memory they don't deserve. Modern sailors still leave notes in bottled limoncello. 71 washed up in Sicily last year. None said I'm sorry. Dust motes settle where the gardenia once clung. The map of Sicily stays open, its creases memorized by hands that loved the wrong people. You close the chest. For 8 heartbeats, the room smells of citrus and rust. Your knuckle brushes a hidden latch under the chest's velvet lining. Click. A panel slides open, crimson ink glows like fresh blood under the cabin's swaying lantern. Unfurl the vellum. A coastline twists northward, stripped of labels, only X's, dozens, gouging coves where names should be. Pirates loved their X marks the spot gimmicks, but real buccaneer maps used codes. Ever prickly about copyright, those sea rogues. Squint closer. The red pigments ground cinnabar. Venetian merchants traded it for Asian opium, toxic as hell. Sailors who mixed the ink often lost fingerprints and a few brain cells. Your thumb hovers over an X, its edges charred. Might been held to a lantern mid-voyage. Arsonist cartography, the OG delete button. The biggest X straddles a crescent bay. Captain's note beside it. No flags, no hymns, no questions. Real pirate havens like Nassau banned church bells, too close to alarm sounds. Historians still argue whether that rule was tactical or just hating Mondays. You smirk, feels relatable. Crimson yarn stitches a route here, 3 knots for hazards. A reef, a naval patrol. Nope, legend says 1 knot marked a kelp forest, full of mating octopuses, 8 arms, 8 problems. Your nail snags on a blotch over Tortuga, ink mixed with wax. Pirate ships sealed treaties by dripping candle wax onto maps. No signatures needed, just heat. Archaeologists found a 1682 agreement near Haiti. Adhesive qualities 1010. Legibility 010. A beetle-shaped watermark lurks in the corner, trademark of a Dutch paper mill raided by pirates in 1667. They stole 8 tons of stationery because nothing says scourge of the seas like a sick stationery fetish. Turn the map, faint charcoal sketches, a gibbet, a turtle, a crown. Code for ports offering gallows avoidance, turtle soup, and royal pardons. Modern linguists think the crown actually meant good haircuts here. Everyone had priorities. 1 inlet's labeled with a single word, Marion. No, scratch that. The name's been scratched out. X'd over 8 times. Privateer lore whispers of a queen turned pirate who executed men for bad grammar. Her flagship, the Oxford comma. Unconfirmed, but you hum the Pirates of Penzance anyway. The paper sags where wine pooled, maybe rum. Pirates watered down their booze with gunpowder for texture. You sniff. Note to self, stop sniffing pirate maps. Here, a smeared fingerprint. DNA analysis from similar maps shows traces of tobacco and marmalade, breakfast of champions, or at least champion-level scurvy. Overleaf, a rhyme in childlike letters. Find the rocks that chew the tide, where the governor's gold takes its secret ride. Real pirate plunder? Probably not. Cute attempt at maritime Dr. Seuss? Absolutely. Light glints off a pressed flower, rosemary. Pirates wore it behind their ears to fend off, well, everyone. Turns out smelling like a roast chicken dinner scared off more than just ghosts. Sudden chill, your breath frosts the map's edge. A rushed note appears in the condensation. Beware the ledger keeper. Ledgers recorded stolen loot. But in 1696, Port Royal's ledger keeper charged a receiving fee. Even thieves hate administrative fees. The final X floats miles offshore, a phantom island, or a meeting point. Buccaneers often rendezvoused at floating markets on abandoned ships, haggle for cutlasses, swap torture tips, grab a corn dog. Missed opportunity for Mall of America. Fold the map, its size like a deflating sail. Crimson dust stains your palm. Don't panic, totally normal. Cinnabar leaks through vellum after 300 years, also toxic. Why are you still holding this? Lantern light flicks. The X's seem to crawl for a heartbeat optical illusion. Probably. Pirate maps never stay dormant. They're the Tamagotchis of historical documents, always demanding attention. You slide the panel shut. The latch leaves a red smudge on your thumb, stubborn as pirate law. Some rules stain. Your fingers brush a panel warped by humidity. The wood pulses like a heartbeat. Inside, maps of jungles, ink swirling into vines. The lines throb. You feel the cabin's heat thicken. Or is it Liberia's coast in 1693? Pirates looted quinine bark there, not realizing it cured the fevers killing them. Ironies, a bitter tea. A panther stalks the maps, edge claws snagged in rigging lines. 18th century surgeons prescribed jungle air for malaria. Patients just got more mosquito bites. Modern upgrade, WebMD, and existential dread. The trees bleed into ship timbers, roots knotting around cannon barrels. Real pirate logs mention crewmen hallucinating parrots as officers. Historians still argue whether that was malaria or really bad rum rations. You blink, that parrot did have a convincing eye patch. Your nail traces a river labeled Mare Austral. Fictional continent, rage-drawn by navigators lost for months. Sailors swore they smelled sugarcane baking in a land of ice. Delusions a hell of a pastry chef. A YELLOWED Chinese letter, prescription. Flutters loose, quinine doses crossed out for leaching. Victorian medics thought swamp gas caused fevers. Turns out just mosquitoes throwing raves in your bloodstream. Wear bug spray. Here a beetle crushed into the vellum. Cochinilla dye traders bribed pirates with insect cargo. Red coats, red maps, red itchy rashes. Colonial fashion, brutal. The map's center puckers. A water stain births a phantom island. Dehydration mirage. Actual landmass. In 1701, a ship chased floating mangroves for 3 days. Just a sunburned log. Press F for effort. Skull caves dot the coast. Not symbolic. Pirates really stashed loot in caves, then forgot which ones. Natural selection at its most forgettable. Your thumb smudges a snake eating its own tail. A robber rose, alchemy symbol for eternity. Pirates tattooed it to ward off starvation. Didn't work, but the vibes, immaculate. A pressed leaf crumbles, smells of ginger. Sailors chewed it to mask gangrene breath. Dating must have been rough. Something moves in the corner. You whirl just the swaying lantern. But the map's vines now twist around your wrist. Hold still. We're all friends here, probably. Blood droplets blotch a settlement named New Bath, because nothing says fresh start like Dysentery Central. The paper creaks. A hidden layer peels up. Beneath, childlike drawings of a ship with chicken legs. Folklore says drugged crews saw vessels walking on fog. Your team bade psilocybin. Turn the map, jungle fades into cross-hatched waves. Thermal vents, coral graves. Nope, penmanship practice. Even pirates had to upskill. A date, October 31, 1697. Underlined twice, All Saints' Eve, when pirates partied hardest, or prayed hardest. Schrödinger's piety. Here, a spear pierces the word cannibal. Anthropologists found 1720s European teeth in Caribbean clay pots. Tourists still ask for gluten-free options. Your forehead drips onto the map. The ink bleeds into a grinning jaguar. Aztec warriors believed nightmares rode jaguar breath. You yawn. Coincidence? Don't care. Nap now. The lantern dims. Shadows curl into hammocks you're swaying. Maybe the ship. Maybe your sanity. Either way, nice rhythm. Moonlight hits the vellum. The jungle dissolves, revealing your own face in the ink. Vanity, thy name is cartography. Threads of mist rise from the paper. Fever treatment involved opium-laced cleansing smokes. Patience just added addiction to their resume. Fold the map, it sticks to your palm like sweat. The captain's final note whispers. Beneath the green, the teeth. Cryptic, poetic, deeply unhelpful. You press the panel shut. The wood cools, a sudden chill, like shade under broad leaves. Your bunk creaks, or maybe something else. The bunk's creak pulls your focus downward. Under the floorboard yellowed from ship's sweat, a curved case glimmers. Whalebone, its surface etched with something between art and math. Scrimshaw, the whaler's boredom turned masterpiece. New Bedford crews carved these by lamp-fat light, their needles clicking against teeth like metronomes. Fingernail catches the latch. It opens with a suck of trapped sea air. Inside, 9 tiny ships, masts snapped like sugar wafers, 16th century votive offerings, practice models. Historians still argue whether these were toys or tiny coffins for drowned hopes. The hull's nest in grooves worn by desperate thumbs. Your pinky traces a galleon's keel, Venetian flag, still bright under centuries of grime. Merchant prides a hell of a preservative. One caravel lists sideways, cargo spilling ivory beads. Real elephant tusks fueled the 1700s piano craze. Middle-class homes needed concertos with their tea. The beads, maybe piano keys for mice, or a captain's abacus. Add the dead, subtract the rations. Morbid math. A schooner's deck swarms with carved rats. Ship vermin were such a problem. Sailors baptized cats as crew members. Records list 1 seaman whiskers drawing equal rum rations. Best job ever, sleep 20 hours. Chase yarn balls. Get drunk. Retirement plan. Rodent genocide. Your thumb grazes a frigate's broken bowsprit. Whalebone fractures in spirals, like cinnamon sticks. In 1732, a Nantucket captain blew his entire share on a model fleet, then smashed it during a monsoon rage. The crew voted him sane. Rough review process. Hold one ship to your ear. The workshop sounds echo. Chisels, curses, a harmonica wheezing greensleeves. Scrimshaw artists used walrus tusks when whales got scarce. Museums display them, next to plaques calling it folk art. Frostbitten sailors might have called it occupational therapy. A sloop's sails are stitched with human hair. Strands glint blonde, auburn, salt-bleached white. Sailors traded locks like wedding rings. Hold this, love, while I hunt giants. Divorce rate, 90%. Commitment issues, permanent. The smallest ship cradles a speck of amber. Trapped inside, a ship-shaped fleck of iron pyrite. Mariners called these fools compasses to mock landlubbers. If you think north is sparkly, enjoy your beachside villa in Antarctica. Beneath the fleet, a scrap of ledger. Faded, case carved from Leviathan's jaw, 1724. Teeth from Jonah's tormentor, bluster or belief. Either way, garage sale story gold. Rot grins up from the case's corner. Mold spores bloom into a continent shape, maybe Australia, if kangaroos were fuzzy and green. Early maps called it Terra Putrida, land of eternal spoilage. Tourism never took off. A splinter pricks your thumb. Whalebone drinks the blood, veining red like malachite. Superstitious whalers rubbed bone with menstrual blood, thought it scared off sea witches. Gynecologists were not consulted. The case hums, or is that the ship's engine? Myths say whalebone retains a mammal's song. Scientists say it's resonance from the hull. Poets say both. You say nap time's overdue. Press the ships into their cradle. The case clicks shut, a whale's jaw clamping down. Your palm tingles. Hope that's not bone splinters or tiny sailors cursing your name. Moonlight slicks the case, making it gleam like wet teeth. You shove it under the bunk. Let the next dreamer wrestle with maritime dollhouses. Your eyelids drop. The floor sways. Or maybe the whales are laughing. The next map sticks to your fingers, ash and regret mixed into vellum. A jagged island dominates the center, its shores scribbled over 17 times. Correction marks halo the landmass like storm clouds. Or maybe smoke. You've seen Pompeii sketches. Roman mapmakers inked volcanic soil as ground that cooks birds mid-flight. Accurate, if slightly understated. Blotches eat the island's eastern flank. Your nail scrapes black grit, still gritty after 3 centuries. Mount Pelées, 1902. Eruption taught us ash preserves things, boots, wine bottles, whole orchestras mid-crescendo. But this, carbonized lemon rinds cling to the margin. Sailors ate citrus to avoid scurvy. Guess vitamin C loses to lava. The compass rose here tilts northwest. Not a drafting error. Someone snapped the quill mid-stroke. Splatter marks arch toward a smeared footnote, non dum diletum est. Latin for not yet erased, chilling resume bullet point. Crease lines suggest the map was folded and refolded, a nervous tick in paper form. Venetian cartographers used pine resin to preserve truths. Also made maps flammable. Career tip: don't waterproof lies with kindling. Pinholes dot the coastline. You recognize the pattern. Nautical charts once used constellations to mark safe harbors, but Cygnus shouldn't align with Sri Lanka. Unless the stars themselves lied. Historians still argue whether the 1656 Ceylon star chart was celestial satire or someone's psychedelic breakdown. A beetle carcass crumbles in the corner. Mediterranean map: beetles were pests. Ate glue, died drunk on ink alcohol. This one's legs curl like its mid-pirouette. Final act: dance of the confused entomologist. Your breath stirs a charcoal plume. It settles into the shape of a gallows. 7 rope silhouettes. The 1721 Mutiny Act required captains to document executions, but this feels personal, not law. Spite: a red stain blooms under the island's label. Wine: mercury-based vermilion dye. Then you spot thumbprints, each whorl grooved with charcoal. Someone pressed down hard enough to scar the parchment. Ever try erasing a tattoo with sandpaper? This guy did. The island's name hides under stain and scribble. Only 2 letters remain. O. Sao Jorge, Santorini. Madagascar's old nickname was Malacusho before someone wisely shortened it. Quirky tidbit: early pirates called it the land where rum forgets you. Not wrong. A horsehair brush protrudes from the map's edge. Badger bristles were standard, but this feels religious. Jesuit map makers blessed their tools with holy water. This brush smells of sacramental wine and regret. 2 things Catholicism does well: hold the vellum to the porthole light. The island's shadow on the wall shows intact cities, now ash in reality. Cartographic ghost limb: phantom pain for places that no longer exist. Under magnification, the corrections reveal tiny dates. July 12, 1695. September 8, 1695. October 22, obsessive redactions. A lunar eclipse happened that October. Superstitious era. Maybe he thought the moon was judging him. The worst part: the coastlines beautifully rendered, each wave stippled with care. This wasn't a rushed job. It was a love letter with the address scratched out. You flake off ash. Beneath a sketch of a cottage. Flower boxes, laundry line a goat. Fantasy retirement plan. Most Venetian captains died at sea. Optimism's a hell of a drug. Fold the map along its tired creases. For a heartbeat, lemon scent and panic sweat cling to your palms. Guilt transfer via parchment. Handle with care. When you finally set it down, the edges crumble like burnt toast. Ashes to ashes. Maps to map dust. You wipe charcoal hands on your jeans. The stain spreads, making you complicit. Dry cleaners hate this one trick. Moonlight glints on the surviving flecks of vermilion. They glitter like warning lights, like eyes, like embers still hungry after centuries. You close the chest. Lava always wins. The goat sketch still clings to your mind, its dumb grin mocking mortality. Your thumb finds a tear in the chest's velvet lining. Something pricks your skin, a quill nib. No, a fishhook embedded in the wood. Someone hid treasures in the architecture of decay. You peel back the fabric. Parchment shreds spill out, scraps from a navigator's workbook. Marginalia crowds the edges. Doodles of squid battling lighthouses, tipsy calculations, and a riddle in a shaky hand. What's blue but never weeps? Childish letters, the B backwards, ink blobs where commas should be. Renaissance navigators trained apprentices with riddles to sharpen their minds. What has forests but no trees? Answer, the sea. Classic. But this one, no solution scribbled, just salt stains where an answer might have pooled. Hold the fragment sideways. Water damage warps the words into a Rorschach test. A whale, a storm, a very sad teapot. 17th century sailors believed such stains held omens. This one predicts bad coffee. The parchment's corner bears a wax splatter purple, not red. Royal correspondents used purple wax from murex shells. Cost a fortune. So why's it mummified in a student's notes? Maybe the kid had connections, or sticky fingers. You sniff the paper. Violets and mildew. Printers once added lavender oil to ink to calm anxious readers. Smells like a grandmother's drawer full of disappointment. More scribbles surface. A list. Turtles equals good luck. If you don't eat them, never whistle in Brazil, angry ghosts. Lose a tooth, throw it at the sun. The last one's crossed out. Ethnographers found tribes who practiced dental solar launches, but Mediterranean sailors, historians still argue whether that entry proves cultural crossover or a cabin boy's fever dream. A pressed flower crumbles between pages. Time. Ancient sailors stuffed their shoes with it to avoid foot rot. Kindness to toes, cruelty to nostrils. Your nail hooks on a folded edge. Unfurl it. A charcoal sketch of two boys laughing on a dock. One holds a spyglass. The other clutches a crumpled paper. The riddle? Maybe. Their faces blur where candle wax dripped. Someone tried to preserve the memory and melted it instead. The chest creaks. You glance up, still alone. Good. This feels private, sacred, like eavesdropping on whispers through a tomb wall. Under the sketch, a phrase loops in elegant script. Verba volant, scripta manent. Spoken words fly, written ones remain. The kid probably copied it from some pompous captain. Irony's thick here, his words survived, but not his name. The riddles grow darker. What has a bed but never sleeps? A river, predictable. What sings without lungs and drowns without water? Wind, sirens, his mother's disapproval. Then what's born in chains but dies free? Metal corrosion, slavery, decent material for a philosophy thesis. or a drinking game. You lean closer. A hair-thin line connects the die's free riddle to a tiny anchor doodle. Pirate ships used anchor motifs to symbolize mutiny. Was this a rebellious teen's workbook? Naval archives mention a 14-year-old hanged for plotting against his captain. Coincidence or confession? The paper cracks at the fold. You taste salt, unintentional, probably. Old maritime documents reek of poor life choices and sodium. Rain taps the porthole. The sound syncs with your pulse. For a moment, the riddles hum half alive. Most cultures have nursery rhymes about the ocean. Few include helpful notes like "Don't trust squid." Turning the page reveals a crude map of a cove. X marks a tidal pool. Treasure, a hidden grotto, or just where the kid liked to skip stones. Modern divers found a 1624 Spanish gold coin wedged in a Corsican rock crevice. Probably unrelated. Probably. The final entry, what's blue but never weeps. Faded ink. A smeared thumbprint. Blank space where the answer should have bloomed. You exhale. The lamplight catches a sparkle in the paper, mica flakes. Venetian copyists added them to mimic starlight. If you tilt the page, the X shimmers. Optical pizzazz. 8-year-old, you would have traded a sibling for this. Outside, waves shush against the hull. The answer's gone, eaten by time or tide. You've got theories. The sky, too obvious. A bruise, morbid for a child. Sapphires in the dark, pretentious. Fold the scraps into their hidey hole. The fishhook snags your sleeve, a final gotcha from the past. Backhanded farewell. As you shut the chest, the riddle lingers. 3 centuries of blue, with no one left to solve it. Maybe that's the point. Some questions aren't meant to be answered, just carried. Like uncharted islands. Like guilt. Like stories that outlive their tellers. Your sleeve tugs free of the fishhook's bite. A thread left behind like a marker. The next map crackles into view, flat gold leaf, glowing even under weak lamplight. Venetian gilding, the kind that bankrupted dukes and dazzled sultans. A treaty port gleams, Macau maybe. No, the buildings curve like Goa's cathedrals. 16th century Portugal stamped these hybrid cities across Asia, part fortress, part bazaar. You know the vibe, colonialism with extra cinnamon. Your nail skims the gilded border. Flecks cling to your skin, not gold. Fool's gold, pyrite, kintsugi for liars. Historians still argue whether the switch was sabotage or just a broke cartographer's hustle. Turn the vellum. The reverse shows a dagger's jagged slash through a royal crest, the Portuguese coat of arms. Oops. Treaty signings required wax seals pressed with signet rings. Puncturing them was treason. Unless you had quick hands and slower morals, fingerprints greasy circle the gash. Hungry ones. Desperate. You think of cloves rotting in a Goa warehouse, of pepper sacks devoured by weevils. A captain's log might call it loss. A surgeon's diary, starvation bloating, the gilding peels where sweat dripped. Sailors whispered that Portuguese nobles bathed in saffron milk. Their skin would stunk like expired curry. Gold propaganda, probably. A stain blooms near Malacca's coastline rust or dried tamarind. The Maputo merchant who sold me this chest swore Asian maps were spiced with citrus to repel silverfish. He also claimed he was Bacchus's nephew. Credibility shaky. You squint at the harbor's scale. Ships drawn too small. Towers too tall. Renaissance mapmakers exaggerated landmarks for sponsors, turning molehills into commission checks. The Google Earth of deceit. Portuguese numerals crawl up the margins. 1615. 200 tonnies. Wine casks. Gunpowder. The math blurs. Someone tried to divide by 0 or a squid. Downwind of the gash, tiny initials. J.V. John V. Joaquim Vicent. The only J. V. in Lisbon's registries died of a suspicious fig pastry. Coincidences are overrated. The dagger slit puckers like a scar. Touch it, grit bites your fingertip. Sand, salt, ground up rubies for dramatic flair. Mughal emperors used powdered gemstones in ink. This feels cheaper, angrier. Your breath fogs the vellum. For a heartbeat, the gash fills with crimson, a phantom hemorrhage. Stress, hallucinations, or no. Just last week's beet salad rebelling. Flip the map again. A fleck of gold floats into your tea, swirling like Portuguese caravels in a typhoon. The 1622 Battle of Hormuz sank 8 of those ships. Bet the gilding outlived the sailors. Light shifts, the pyrite glints mocking. You thought me real. Alchemists once sold dragon gold made from beetle wings. Same energy. Notes crowd Macau's harbor. Good pearls, bad oysters. Avoid Tuesdays. Local superstition claimed Tuesdays angered sea nymphs. Scientific method wasn't their forte. A splotch obscures the latitude line. Wine or communion blood. Portuguese captains took Eucharist wafers on expeditions. God's carb loading for pirates. The map crackles as you refold it. Vellum lasts centuries, kings don't. Joe Ivy's heart rests in a church urn. His enemies probably spit on the plaque. Outside, rain mosaics the porthole. The chest exhales camphor and unresolved coups. That slit, so deliberate, blade dragged slow. An artist's grudge. You imagine the moment, a candlelit tent, sand gnats whining, the ambassador's ring hovering over wax, then steel hissing through parchment, a kingdom's promise severed. Would the knife have chilled the room? Warm-blooded betrayal. Stories never specify thermoregulation. On the map's edge, a doodle. Stick figures hanging from gallows. Childish. Chilling. Execution crowds were family events in old Lisbon. Bring a picnic. Skip the ethics. Your knee bumps the chest. A hidden hinge creaks empty now. Secrets need an audience, or they're just dead paper. The gold's reflection warps on the wall. An upside-down crown, a broken noose. Paradolia's R-rated show. You lean back. Treaty ports fueled empires and choked them. Macau's last Portuguese governor left in '99, his Mercedes pelted with lychees. History loves a passive-aggressive exit. But this map, it's stuck in 1615. Frozen mid-slice, the dagger wielder, hero or hack. No ledger records their name, just a tear that outshone the gold. Rain softens, the lamplight wanes. Somewhere, a real king's seal sits intact, daring you to trust it. The lamplight gutters your shadow, lunging at the wall like a mutinous first mate. Beneath your palm, the next map feels different, colder. Vellum shouldn't prickle. You smooth it, and the paper resists. A vortex bleeds across the lower edge, ink swirling into a hungry spiral. Cartographers called these gurges Latin for throat. Fitting. This one's edges fray as if chewed. 16th century pilots feared whirlpools more than reefs. The Santa Catarina's crew swore they seen one swallow a lighthouse off Hatteras. Later records blamed bad rum. Your thumb brushes the vortex's eye. Grainy residue clings, salt, ground coral. The Alonsky monks once sold Leviathan dandruff as whirlpool repellent. Spoiler, it was baking soda. The captain's quill hesitated here. Blots dot the spiral, ink storm versus indecision. Ships crowd the margins, their masts snapped into matchsticks. Near Lisbon, a child's drawing this crude would have been kindling. At sea, gospel. Tilt the page. The vortex warps into a nautilus shell, Fibonacci's math mocking chaos. Renaissance geeks loved hiding codes in nature. Da Vinci doodled turbulence in wine stains. A red X floats where the whirlpool's heart should be. No coordinates. No here be monsters. Just a stain that smells of iron. Cinnamon, your nose wrinkles. Sailors packed spices in gunpowder barrels. Cross-contamination, history's roommate. Moonlight bleeds through the porthole. The vortex turns cobalt, Venetian ultramarine pigment. Made from crushed Afghan lapis, cheaper than bishops. You wonder if the dust ever choked the grinder. Press closer. Tiny figures swim the spiral's curve, stickmen with captain's hats. Delusion or dark humor. Prince Henry, the Navigator's chronicles mention a mad sailor who mapped drowning souls as navigation aids. The court poet called it budget Dante. The paper's edge curls singed. Fire or friction. Rub your finger raw and you'll smell burnt sugar. Molasses shipments often bubbled into accidental caramel. Not relevant, but tasty. They are hidden in the spiral's third coil. Faint numerals, XVI. XMMX, October 16, 2010. A decimal point off. Historians still argue whether old map dates used periods or kisses. The ink's too fresh. A forgery or a later hand annotating doom. You exhale, the vortex quivers. For a second, it spins. Real. Sleep deprivation creeps in. The Pequod's crew saw phantom maelstroms after 6 months of hardtack. Dinner last night was gas station sushi. The map's reverse is blank. Unusual. Vellum's too precious to waste. Unless the vortex was a last-minute confession. a captain admitting he'd sailed off the literal edge. Rain drums the hull. Imagination, Betsy, winds her phonograph. If you press your ear to the map, nothing. Just your pulse. Good. Explorers who heard voices usually ended up in cannibal cookbooks. A hairline fracture splits the vortex. Follow it with a magnifier. The lens warps it into a wedding ring. Convenient. Portuguese captains married the sea in mock ceremonies. Rings tossed overboard, followed by mistresses. Your tea has gone cold. A leaf drifting in the cup mimics the whirlpool's arc. Coincidence, or the universe's lazy symbolism? The spiral's center beckons. Touch it. The vellum dimples, thin as a ship's sail mid-storm. You half expect seawater to burst through. Procrastinators of the 1600s doodled in logbooks. Was this a stressed captain's fuck it moment? Overhead, a floorboard groans. The chest's lid. Paranoia's a side effect of archival dust. That and spontaneous yawning. Light a match, the flame bends east. Draft or deviance. Either way, it's bedtime for pyromaniacs. The vortex outlived its ink. The man who drew it. Dust in an unmarked latitude. You refold the map, and the spiral aligns with a knothole in the desk. Portal jokes write themselves. Dawn gnaws the horizon. Somewhere, a real whirlpool churns patient, waiting to swallow better sailors than you. The lamp dies. Darkness fills the chest's void. Maps breathe deepest when no one's looking. Brittle red wax cracks under your thumbnail, a sound like stepped-on grave frost. The seal's imprint shows a two-headed eagle Habsburg. Ottoman empires loved their drama. Inside, paper tears along a fold, the sort of rip that haunts archivists' nightmares. The note's script tilts, drunk or desperate. Currents forgive debts. Then nothing. A nib snapped mid-confession. Sailors whispered that maelstroms erased sins. Pirates dumped loot in them like divine piggy banks. Smear the wax. It crumbles into rust-colored dust. Tudor nobles mixed oxblood into sealing wax for gravitas. Also hid arsenic. Yours just smells of cheap vermilion Venice's answer to bulk office supplies. The papers, watermarks, a laughing satyr. Florentine mills used those during the Medici scandals. Coincidence? Italian papermakers loved inside jokes. One even pressed fleas into sheets labeled patron portraiture. That looping sea in currents shaky. Compare it to the logbook's crisp XVI. XMMX from earlier. Same hand. The eyes lack dots. Grief or gout. Portuguese navigator Alvaro Fernandes supposedly wrote his will with a seagull quill dipped in squid ink. Smudges guaranteed. Rain taps Morse code on the porthole. You hold the note sideways, faint indentations surface. A blind man in Thessaloniki once sold ghost letter decoders made from goat bladders. You use your phone light. Nothing, just pulp veins. The second page, missing, would have held the will. Vellum scraps under the seal suggest haste. Lawyers demand triplicates. Suicides. First draft massacres. Your tea steam softens the paper. Letters blur to becomes dye. Poetic, if you ignore the landlords, lien notice stuck to your fridge back home. The wax residue coats your thumbprint. Rub it streaks like old war paint. British sailors auctioned admirals, broken seals as luck scales. Bidders never asked how the admiral died. Moonlight hits the satyr watermark. His grin stretches. Renaissance magicians trapped malicious mirth in paper. Just ink, yet your neck prickles. The note's edge matches a tear in the Sicily map from section 10. Lovers' letters and suicide notes, same drawer. Efficiency or symbolism. Carthaginian widows sent suicide vows to rivals, perfumed with rosewater and spite. Unfold it again. Those two words loop tighter, the B in debts, coiled like a hangman's noose. Historians still argue whether Admiral Coligny's ambiguous 1569 note was resignation or a laundry list. Your candle sputters. In the flare, the satyr winks. Sleep deprivation or stale air. The Voss's crew reported laughing shadows before the ship sank. They'd been drinking turpentine cocktails. Light a match, wax droplets hiss. Red bubbles into black. St. Elmo's fire. No, poor life choices. The desk's wood grain mirrors the note's torn edge. Follow the splinters. They point to the chest's lock. Coincidences are God's dad jokes. Fog creeps through the cracked porthole. The note curls a dying cinder. You press it flat. Too late. Words now accordioned into oblivion. Dawn's first gull cry fractures the silence. Somewhere, a drop of wax still rolls across a tilted desk eternal and small as regret. The chest exhales camphor. You add the note to the vortex map, where the whirlpool's edge swallows the satyr's face. Morning shifts the shadows. The seal's twin heads now face opposite horizons, one glaring at the lifeline on your palm, the other laughing at the door. The desk drawer sticks, a final mutiny of swollen wood. You jimmy it with the hairpin from the Sicilian love letters. Inside, a ledger's spine cracks like knuckles. Leather reeks of pickling brine. Ship's accountants used vinegar to ward off silverfish, also drank it for scurvy. Results mixed. First pages list rations. Salted cod dwindling to bones by November 1629. Real Batavia mutineers survived on wallaby meat. These guys, rat haunches and resentment. Marginalia scratches 7 days since landfall beside a smeared latitude. The ink's iron gall standard issue. But dip your pinky in the E of 7. Tastes like saltpeter. Sailors rubbed gunpowder into protest notes. The Admiralty called it treason seasoning. Flip faster. Entries blur into tallies, 16 men down to 9. No causes, just crosshatches. Then, a sketch, 3 nooses dangling from the mizzenmast. One hangs limp. The captain's script stops mid-sentence. If God wills us to below. A child's hand draws birds, or maybe arrows. Historians still argue whether the Revenge's 1631 uprising was sparked by starvation. or a cabin boy's grudge over stolen sugar loaf. A pressed flower crumbles between pages time. Ship medics prescribed it for melancholy. Also stuffed it in dead men's nostrils. Your candle reflects in the drawer's keyhole. Something winks back. You lift the false bottom. Its hinges gave up centuries ago. Mold-speckled pages wait, clamped by a tarnished hairpin. The hidden diary weighs less than a pistol ball. Dutch privateers swore ledger paper soaked in urine became bullet soft. This one's brittle as communion wafers. Entries here sprawl, no dates, just moon phases. A crewman's hand, cook's ladle now measures gunpowder, says it's fairer than porridge rations. Crossed out. Added, hunger turns all spoons to swords. Next page, a charcoal smear of the captain's hat adrift. No face beneath. 1632 pirate codes demanded unanimous votes for mutiny. This crew used dice. A lock of hair brown, singed at the ends, pokes from the binding. Smells of lye soap, and is that nutmeg? Mutineers on the rising sun tattooed their grievances in lime juice ink. Invisible until fever sweat betrayed them. The last entry's letters bleed through the page. First, mate's gone to crows. We ate the snuff box. Brass cuts the gums. You check the spine, no pages torn. Did he stop writing or run out of tongue? Rain drums the porthole. You hold a page to the glass. Water streaks the word mercy into mercenary. Poetic, also factually flexible. The hairpin leaves a green stain on your thumb. Copper verdigris, oxidations, slow knife. Someone once told you Venetian assassins favored it for draft letters. Slow, deniable. Dawn glares through the cabin door. By daylight, the nooses look like fiddlehead ferns. Hope's a Rorschach test. You shut the ledger. Its clasp leaves a half-moon dent in your palm, small, precise. A seagull shrieks. Somewhere, a spoon clatters on a galley floor, empty. Moonlight licks the vellum, a cold blue that makes your breath visible. You've heard of Galileo's heresy, tides as proof the earth moves. The church called it lunar hysteria. This chart agrees with him in secret graphite. Curves plot high waters against 3 moons. Not just ours. Renaissance astronomers whispered of companion satellites, too dim to see, madman's trivia, until your fingertip bumps a 4th orbit. Graphite smudges like wet ash. Sailors once timed beard trimming to moon phases, thought it prevented scurvy. You check your stubble. Might explain the patchy parts. Columns list tide heights in a shaky hand. 70 hands at Malta, 12 fingers, depth at Cyprus. Units change mid-page. Did a drunken helmsman take over? Or someone measuring their own dread? A sketched whirlpool straddles the Strait of Messina, Charybdis, mythical monster. Or just the moon's pull on riptides. Historians still argue whether ancient maps hid warnings as folklore. Your candle gutters. Shadows stretch the whirlpool into a yawn. Time slips. Salt crusts your lips faster than dew forms. Midnight. Or have you stared at the chart for weeks? Tidal math crowds the margins. Third moon's apogee plus solar zenith equals king tide. Below it, or is it apogee x guilt, regret? Navigation crossed out for poetry. You get it. Folded corners mark eclipse dates. August 12, 1633, Galileo renounced his theories that day. Here, tide heights spike wildly, as if the seas raged for him. One page feels sticky. Lantern light reveals honey smears, ancient attempt to waterproof. Tastes like clover. Probably not toxic. Probably. Lunar longitude lines quiver like harp strings. Pluck one. You swear a low sea hums through the cabin. Acoustics or sleep deprivation. The ship's cat arches its back. Jury's out. Red ink suddenly scores the paper. Neap tide, 1637, the year no lobsters bred in Cornwall. Random, maybe, but Tudor tanners blamed dye shortages on that lobster famine. Connected? Unlikely. Still, weirder links exist. You tilt the page. Graphite constellations emerge, Ursa Minor caught mid-paw swipe. Polaris, double its size. Freud would have had a field day. You settle for a snort. Faint fingerprints dent the mare Serenitatis. Press your thumb into one. For a heartbeat, the room smells of brine-soaked wool. Memory or vellum alchemy. The lines blurring. A dried hydrangea petal drifts out, purple turned tea brown. Tide predictors stuffed them in pillows to cure lunar melancholia. You tuck it behind your ear. Placebo effect incoming in 3-2 waves. Slap the hull in triplet rhythms. The chart's final entry, high tide at midnight. Or is midnight high tide? Grammar dissolves here, along with any pretense of linear time. Your shadow now stretches east. Dawn. Impossible, you opened this chest minutes ago. The cat's gone, so's the candle. Only the fourth moon remains drawn in fresh graphite. When did you pick up the pencil? Salt crystallizes on your eyelids. Somewhere, Galileo nods. Somewhere, a heretic grins. You fold the chart slowly, letting the moons align one last time. The vellum resists unfolding stiff from salt and decades pressed shut. When it gives, smoke curls off the page. Not real smoke, the ink's gone spectral, lines dissolving mid-stroke. A ship's hull bleeds into fog, or is the fog the ship? You lean closer. Bad idea. The room tilts like a capsizing dinghy. Recipes for Venetian pitch whisper in your periphery. Egg whites mixed with pine resin. Hemp soaked in whale oil. Standard shipbuilding alchemy. You've read how the Arsenal once built a warship, per day each timber, standardized like bakery loaves. But this vessel, nothing standard. Mast curves wrong. Sailcloth fused with rigging. A galley's or its fever dream. Mist thickens. Deck planks warp under your gaze, knots becoming eyes, then just knots again. 17 cannons. Maybe. Depends how you count the half-inked shadows. One porthole glows amber. Your own face flickers in the glass. Flattering angle. No. The reflection mimes your head tilt. Stops when you do. Okay, that's new. Sailors blur at their posts. No faces. just smudges where chins should be. One figure stands sharp. The captain. His bicorn hat drips ink. Historians still argue whether the Flying Dutchman myths began as punishment tales or sightings of Venetian mirror ships. Right now, your team both. A dotted line skirts the hull, breadcrumbs through the mist. You trace it. The ink seeps cold. 16th century navigators swore phantom ships could be tracked by their wake stench, rosemary, and rust. This smells like your grandma's linen closet. Not helpful. Portside, a lifeboat dangles. Rope lines dangle as numerals, 1641. Ottoman blockade year. Coincidence. The reflection captain points starboard. You follow his gesture. The page's edge yawns open an uncharted white gulf. Wind, or the chest exhaling. Your thumb finds a wax bump on the vellum. Ship's flag. No, a coffee ring. Legacy of some long-dead cartographer's breakfast. You smirk. The reflection copies you. Creepy. Footsteps clunk overhead, the real ship's crew maybe, or the sketch crew's echoes. Tudor sailors blamed ghost ships on moon-burned rum. You glance at your flask. Guilty as charged. Bottom corner, a child's doodle. Stick figures fishing off the bow. Squid instead of fish. Cute. Also unnerving. You knew a guy in Marseille who tattooed squid on his eyelids. Different kind of unsettling. Mist invades the cabin now. The porthole reflection's gone. So's the candle. Only the ship remains, or what's left of it. Hull planks unravel into cursive. Mast becomes a sentence. Who charts the chartmaker? Silk threads crisscross the page, original trade routes. You pluck one. It hums. Your ears pop. Pressure change. Or the room shrinking. Maps accordion fold themselves around you. Seriously, lay off the squid ink risotto before bed. A black droplet hits the deck, your nosebleed. Of course. High humidity plus ancient vellum equals this. The reflection captain tosses a handkerchief. You catch air. Real helpful, Casper. Starbursts crowd the margins, tiny supernovas. Renaissance astronomers drew them to mark Christ's tears meteor showers. This batch forms a crude arrow, pointing where? You rotate the page. The arrow points to you. Deet, deet, deet. Phone alarm. No, your watch. Since when does it chirp like a tin robin? Time check. 3:17 a.m. The sketch's chronometer reads 3:17. Sync or mimicry. You cover the watch. The page dims. Okay, we're done here. Fold the vellum. Each crease muffles the mist. Last glimpse, the reflection captain tipping his hat. You'd salute back, but he's already ink again. Floorboards steady themselves. Air clears, wood smoke and mildew, familiar horrors. The ship's cat reappears, licking its paw like nothing happened. You're pretty sure it winked. Dawn's first gray edges the porthole. Your shadow stretches normal, mostly. The nose bleeds dry. Charts stacked. Flask empty. Just another night with the captain's ghosts. Wait, what's that in your palm? A hydrangea petal. Not the one from earlier. This one's fresh. Purple as a vein. The cat purrs. The hydrangea petal wilts in your grip, purple shriveling to ashen gray. You tuck it behind your ear anyway. Who's judging? The cat's vanished again. Typical. Your knee bumps the chest side. A hidden drawer springs open, a rusty twang of protest. Inside, a fist-sized disc crusted in barnacles. Brushing debris reveals pocked brass beneath. An astrolabe, or what's left of one. 16th century navigators used these to read stars through storm clouds. Yours. The corals chewed through its latitude rings. A sea fan jams the rotating reedy. You try prying it. The metal flakes like stale pastry, marine concretions. Your inner nerd mutters. Saltwater corrodes brass 10 times faster in the dark. Historians still argue whether astrolabe makers added lead to the alloy, or if ocean muck did the corrupting. The answer's currently flaking onto your jeans. One zodiac engraving survives, Capricorn. Its goatfish tail sprouts actual bryozoan colonies. You wiggle a finger. The polyps don't budge. Rent-free, you tell them. They ignore you, tilting the disc. You spot numbers etched where the alidade once pivoted. 57, 33, 12. They lead nowhere, the reference, tables coral glued shut. Mainstream fact. Ottoman navigators added Quranic verses to their instruments. This one, faint scratches suggest someone tried carving a smiley face. Priorities right. 3 taps on the backplate. Hollow. You shake it, something rattles. A pebble, a pearl. The coral seal mocks you. Irony. Treasure hunters in the 1980s X-rayed legendary captains, astrolabes, only to find pocket lint. Holding it to the porthole light does nothing. Moon's too weak. The needle, what's left, sags southward like a depressed pendulum. Fringe tidbit. Salvagers near Cyprus once found an astrolabe pointing straight down. They dug, found nothing but a confused clam. Your watch chirps. 3:42 a.m. The astrolabe's shadow creeps across overdue library books. You rotate the disc. The needle stays fixed, a stubborn child refusing broccoli. Creepier. The coral seems to pulse. Is that a heartbeat or your caffeine jitters? One barnacle loosens. You pocket it. Souvenir or future regret. Jury's out. Wiping tarnish reveals a maker's mark. G. Valence, 1588. Google free zone. You mumble Dutch. Mistake. The disc fogs up. A hologram, condensation. Either way, now you're staring at a tiny brass man banging the alidade with a hammer. Can't you see I'm working? He snaps. You blink. He's gone. Replace the squid ink with decaf, maybe. Floorboards creak, not the ships. Real world creaks. The cat's back, sniffing the astrolabe with disdain. It sneezes. 2 bryozoans despawn. Proof of concept. Bottom edge. A solder patch shaped like Venice's lion of St. Mark. Touch it, and city bells echo, or maybe tinnitus. Your ears haven't stopped ringing since that lute concert. Midnight blue stains your palm, verdigris or ocean dye. You debate licking it. Darwin Award territory. The cat hisses, vetoing stupidity. A draft creeps in. The astrolabe spins once. Full rotation. Needle still down. You have expected to whisper dig here. Instead, barnacles crunch. The disc fractures along Capricorn's spine. Inside, a scroll fragment. Unfurl it. Numbers. 33. 8,860 degrees N. 35. 5,130 degrees E. Beirut's coordinates. Or they were, before longitude was a thing. Your watch chirps again. The cat bats it. Time's up. Sliding the astrolabe back feels like shelving a grumpy librarian. The drawer clicks shut, taking the coral's heartbeat with it. Sunrise pinks the porthole. Shadows retreat. Only the hydrangea petal remains crisp again, impossibly violet. You press it into the logbook, a bookmark for madness. The cat purrs against your ankle. Everything's normal, except the astrolabe-shaped dent in the cushion and the faint smell of Dutch tulips in a room with no flowers. The ducal crest glints under your penlight, a winged lion clutching an open book. Venice's symbol since the 800s. You'd know that stubby-legged beast anywhere. The carvings worn smooth, centuries of guilty thumbs avoiding its gaze. You press the lion's mane. No click, no secret springs, just varnished oak under your nail. A joke. Home's map stays locked while typhoon charts spill their guts. Priorities of a dying captain bury the personal, flaunt the peril. 3 wax seals guard the edges. 2 crumbled long ago, brittle red dust on velvet. The third holds. Heat it with your lighter. 2 Hollywood lick it. Saliva activates some medieval adhesives. The cat eyes you. Don't, it seems to say. You listen. Fingernail work then, slow scraping. Wax curls cling like they're paid hourly. Mainstream fact. Venetian cartographers often hid their city's true layout to thwart invaders. This map, the Grand Canal loops twice around San Marco, blatant lie or a Mondrian moment. 1 seal corner lifts. You freeze. The chest exhales brine and myrrh. Funny, the smell of your grandmother's attic. Coincidence or olfactory ambush. Peeling the vellum feels like tearing skin. The paper fights, a sigh escaping its fibers. 12 folds later, Venice spreads in iron gall ink. Familiar, but warped. The Rialto Bridge arches where Campos should be. Palazzo roofs tilt like drunken hats. A dotted line weaves through the labyrinth. You trace it. Finger snags on a puncture, a tiny hole where the quill pressed too deep. Follow the tear. It arrows toward the arsenal's gates. Historians still argue whether mapmakers booby-trapped charts with needle pricks. Navigation aid or revenge on clumsy thieves. You squint. Between 2 canals, a stain mimics the lion of St. Mark. Blot or watermark. Rub it. Your thumb comes away soot gray. Midnight gondola ash. Doubtful. Fringe tidbit. Smiths once used molten sulfur to seal noblemen's chests. Smell's gone now, but your nose remembers the rotten eggs. The cat paws the map's edge. Its claw snags on the Adriatic. Fabric rips. You wince, but the tear reveals a sublayer. Another map beneath. Ghostly lines trace a smaller city within Venice. Narrower canals. No bridges. Byzantine era. A number floats in the lagoon. 421. Venice's founding year. Cute touch. Here's the kicker. The submerged section shows foundations where dry land exists today. Subsidence denial. Or did the captain know something dredgers don't? Your phone dies mid-photo. Typical. The cat smirks. Light shifts, dawn hits the lion's eye. Bronze inlays catch fire. You tilt the map. The hidden city flickers. One building shimmers gold. The Doge's palace, they called it. Except that structure burned in 1483. This is dated 1576. Mistake or a ghost in graphite. The crest seal drips wax suddenly. Reset button. The map curls inward, protective origami. You grab a corner. Mistake. The vellum slices your thumb. A bead of blood pearls the arsenal's coordinates. Glue smell intensifies. The cat bolts. Smart move. Under your bloodstain, a phrase bleeds through. Beware the well that drinks the moon. You snort. Pirates had better poetry. Then footsteps echo outside. Real ones. Landlord here for rent. Fold, refold, wrong order. The map becomes a crumpled starfish. Shove it back. The seal, dust now. The lion's gaze follows you to the door. You fake a cough. Just insomnia things. Voice too high. The footsteps retreat. Back at the chest, the map lies flat again. Unblemished. Your bloodstain, a rust-colored canal. Coincidence or absorbent vellum sorcery. Breath steadies. Watch ticks. The cat returns, chewing something that might be a bryozoan. You ignore the hairball risk. Final discovery. The map's backside. Slight stickiness. Prayer. Love note. Flip it. A grocery list. Salt. Lamp oil. Almonds. New quills. Anticlimax stings. Then tiny writing below. For the doctor, arsenic salve. For the boy, licorice root. Your throat tightens. The captain's final entry. Not a glorious will, a scribble for errands never run. The lion's seal regrows as you watch wax bubbling up like liquid amber. Too fast, too silent. You slam the lid. Teeth rattle. Coffee mugs quake. Later, tidying, you find almond shells under the desk. Not yours. The cat's innocent face needs work. Dawn bleaches the room. Your thumb throbs. The map's back in its sarcophagus. Venice buried twice over. Why keep it locked? Maybe some chests stay closed not out of secrecy, but because facing home's ghost requires anchors no sailor possesses. You sniff licorice air. The cat purrs. Somewhere, a canal sighs. Try sleeping now. The cat's paws crunch almond shells as you lift the final map, its edges flaking like sunburnt skin. Charcoal kisses the vellum. No grand design, just a void where continents should swim. Fire's appetite is democratic. You blow ash. Particles spiral, a reverse snow globe. 17th century captains burned flawed charts to protect trade secrets. This one, too pristine, too deliberate. The burn starts mid-page. No accident. Someone aimed the flame. A triangle of uncharred vellum survives. 3 dots. A constellation. Hold it to the lamp. Light bleeds through pinholes. Ursa Minor's tale, Northern Sky Guide. But here's the gag. Venice lies 45 degrees north. This star map aligns with Alexandria. Your thumbprint, still tacky from last night's cut, sticks to the edge. The blood spot darkens, expands. Ink blooms beneath it like squid defense mechanisms. Fringe tidbit. Egyptian navigators added pulverized mummy bits to their ink for celestial favor. This page smells of myrrh and wet dog. Coincidence? The cat disagrees. Letters emerge where your blood touched parchment. Beware the well that drinks the same phrase as before, but the rest crisps away. Fire's punchline. The blank center taunts. Rub it. No hidden graphite. Lick it. Risk mummy cooties. You opt for angled light. Nothing. Zip. Nada. Just the ghost of ship's biscuit crumbs. Phone flashes alive, 12% battery. Snap a pic with filter 1977. The screen's glare reveals something. A watermark. Hold breath. Zoom. Bullseye rings. 6 concentric circles. 0 coordinates. Historians still argue whether Venetian captains scrubbed final voyages to void unpaid debts. Oceanic delete button. Your coffee cup leaves a ring on the desk. Perfect match. Art imitates life, imitates caffeine stains. The cat bats a charred scrap. Unroll it. 3 words. Saffron, quicksilver, valerian. Grocery list sequel. Apothecary's last order. Random nouns. You Google Quicksilver Venetian voyages. A 1582 scandal pops up. Captain Morty accused of dumping mercury to fake a cargo holds weight. His defense. The sea wanted shinier waves. Acquitted. Ash smudges your sleeve. You sneeze. The cat judges. Hard. Flip the map. Backside glue holds a single hair, pale, coarse. Whalebone bristle from a grooming brush. Foreshadowing for Section 13's tiny ships. The timeline's drunk. Dab rubbing alcohol on the blank space. Vellum resists. Smart move. This isn't your bedroom door. Dawn creeps in. Shadows eat the burn marks. You're left holding a Rorschach test scored by arsonists. That's the kicker. Maybe nothing was ever there. Mainstream fact. Venetian mariners often sailed with blank logs to invent routes for tax purposes. This map's not a mystery. It's an audit trail. The final joke's on you. All that survives is the captain's reluctance. No X marks the spot, just the weight of a quill hovering over ash. The chest creaks, lid lowering itself. Paranoid much. You stuff the map back. Fibers crunch dead leaves underfoot. Cat pukes by the door. Component. Almond shrapnel. Thanks, buddy. Canal bells toll 7. Your knees protest. Floor's been hungry. That's the rub with history. It spends your stamina like another man's coin. One last peek. The burn pattern shifts. No trick of tired eyes, unless you're too sleep-drunk for nuance. The map wins. Always does. Under peeling wallpaper, the wall clock ticks nautical time. 8 bells. Bed calls. You pretend not to hear. Final discovery. The chest's lock clicks open again as you walk away. A gust slams it shut. Venice guarding its ghosts. You crash on the couch. The cat steals your pillow, balanced on its nose, a single almond, uncrushed. Dawn licks the ashes. Somewhere, a captain's laughter echoes through salted timber. You dream of blank maps, and they dream of you. Your cheek sticks to the atlas page, dried drool bonding with 1673 cartography. The Baltic Sea's inked waves ripple under your eyelid. Something prickles your lip. You peel back. Blonde hairs coil like fiddlehead ferns in the Gulf of Finland. 17th century sailors traded amber along these coasts, sunstone cargoes heavier than gold. These strands, no trade goods, too fine, too deliberate. You pluck one, holds it to the window. Cat leaps, swats, misses. His tail flicks an Ottoman coffee cup. Circular logic. The hair's as long as your forearm. Child's growth chart, lover's keepsake. The cat's new toy curls into a question mark. Sneeze. 2 hairs spiral into your tea. White Pico meets 300-year-old keratin. Bon appetit. Fringe tidbit. Baltic captains sewed sweethearts. Hair into sails for wind favor. Did it work? Ask the ex-girlfriend strands in your Earl Grey. The atlas creaks. Vellum stretches thin over Scandinavia. Press a fingertip to Norway. The hair adheres. Static cling or Stockholm syndrome. You hum ABBA. No change. Moonlight exposes a pinprick below the strands. Magnifier out, engraved initials. AMT flips to index. No matches. Historians still argue whether AMT signifies Anna Maria Thurn or a ship's code for abandoned mast. Tides. Rotate the page. Hair sways, pendulum-like. North Sea to Neva River. Hold your breath. It stills, pointing toward Gotland. Island of sheep, slate, and according to that drunk archivist in Riga, a pirate's nursery rhyme about flaxen braids. Scrape a strand with your thumbnail. DNA test fantasies dissolve, budget says nope. The cat licks his paw. Your move, science. Dawn grazed the porthole. 3 hairs left. One curls into an S, another a 7. The third, pure defiance. You metagame. If this were a movie, I'd follow. The cat pounces. Atlas slides, hairs cling to his tail. Miniature maypole. He struts, drags the page. Torn corner reveals a sketch. Girl on a Gotland cliff. Wind tugs her hair, same gold hue. Ink smudges her face. No ID, just a date, 1673. Matching the atlas, your pulse ticks. Mainstream fact, Gotland's herring boom peaked that year. Coincidence? The cat's tail disagrees. Turn the atlas sideways. Hidden margin text, Furlat Mig. Swedish for forgive me. or love notes, the lines blurry like Baltic fog. Your phone dies mid-Google Translate. Backup plan. Lick the vellum. Salty, tears or seawater. The hair clings to your wrist, now possessive. Outside, a gondola scrapes the canal, its prow parts reflections, blonde ripples merging with yours. You snap the atlas shut. Too late. The hairs weave through the keyhole. Fibonacci curls. Cat yawns. His breath stirs the strands, a whisper too low for human ears. You pretend not to hear iceberg in the static. The chest creaks its lid. Inviting, demanding. You tuck the atlas inside, hairs snake over the latch. They glow, or maybe you're just caffeine deficient. Canal bells toll. 8 brittle strikes. The chest exhales bergamot and dishwater. You walk away. The lock clicks. Behind you, a faint hum. Furlat mig in 3-part harmony. Shift a painting, hide the key. The frame tilts. Girl's portrait. Gotland cliff. Blonde hair. Your spine chills. The cat purrs at your ankle. A single golden strand caught in his whiskers. Dust, motes swirl where the atlas fell, sunlight slicing through Venetian blinds. The Sahara page glows tawny under your palm. Something shifts. A sand grain ricochets off your thumbnail. Then another. You freeze. The desert inches toward your wrist. 17th century trans-Saharan caravans hauled slabs of salt, each camel's load worth a limb. These grains, lighter, sharper. You tilt the map. A mini dune cascades onto mahogany. Cat sniffs, sneezes a miniature Sirocco. 273 granules. You count like a penitent. Each sticks to sweat. One clings to your eyebrow. Fringe tidbit. Medieval Arab geographers claimed certain sands could mute thirst. Lab tests say dehydration hallucination. You tongue a grain anyway. Tastes like regret and library fines. The map's Nile Delta region bulges, peak beneath a hollowed space. Brass hourglass nestled in the vellum. Its glass cracked. Sand pools at both bulbs. Timeless limbo, engraving on the frame. Die Lurcher in der Welt, Schluckenmeyer Alslicht. German. Odd choice for a desert artifact. You mispronounce it. The cat judges. Historians still argue whether Timbuktu's scholars used hourglasses alongside astrolabes. This one's too small for navigation, palm-sized tragedy. Flip it. Sticky residue on the base. Molten wax. Blood. The cat bats it. One grain slips into the crack. Faint click. The lower bulb's sand rearranges, forming numerals. 1641. Flip again. Another grain. 1655. Another. 1662. Death dates. Membership roster. Your neck prickles. Mainstream fact. The Mali empires collapse stranded salt traders in dune seas. Starvation, or something thirstier. The hourglass shudders. You shake it. Sand spells Neen. The cat jumps onto the desk. His tail sweeps grains into a spiral. A face emerges, grainy, smudged. Male, female. Saharan wind blurs the features. The hourglass hums. Single note, didgeridoo-deep. Your fillings vibrate. Flip the hourglass. Sand flows upward, defies physics, defies your understanding of IKEA instructions. A granule sticks to your chin. Birthmark, GPS tag, 3 knocks downstairs. Landlord, rent's due. You cough food poisoning. The cat yawns, exposing grad student debt in dental calculus. Back to the map. Dates multiply, each grain a tombstone. Link them, Morocco to Cairo, a funeral route. You trace it. Blisters form. The desert bites. Fumble for water. Miss the glass. Spill onto the hourglass. Mud forms. Cat licks it. Now he's a conspirator. Moonlight through the porthole. 23 grains glow, bioluminescent. Or sleep-dep hugger-mugger. You pocket one. Instant karma, oven mitts combust. Dawn, the hourglass empty. All sand migrated to your socks. Dates itch your toes. 1633, 1670, 1648. The cat digs a litter box in Algeria. Final grain rolls toward the atlas's edge. You block it, finger becomes a Suez Canal. The granule pulses, heatless, relentless. Phone buzzes. Mom, when's dinner? You murmur, I'm in 1649. She sighs, click. The grain escapes, plummets off the desk. Floorboard swallows it. The hourglass clicks. Voice from below, dank, German again. The cat arches his back, hisses at a date. You sweep the sand, mostly. 106 grains cling to the ceiling, defiant. Reverse snowfall. The landlord pounds again. Answer the door. She sniffs, smells like mummy. You shrug, hand her rent. She leaves. The cat knocks over the hourglass. Sand forms a word on the floor. Vergesenheit. Oblivion. You mispronounce it. The word unravels. Grains retreat under the fridge. Atlas pages flutter. Sahara map now blank. The hourglass, just glass. The cat licks his paw. Victory lap. Canal bells toll 9 times. Your sock leaves date imprints on the tiles. 1666, 1655, 1671. Each step a shallow grave. Lock the chest. It groans, a camel's death rattle. You wash your hands. Sand blocks the drain. The cat watches. Silent partner. Bed calls. You collapse. Sheets scratch full of invisible dunes. The hourglass rolls under the bed. It'll keep. Dream of Timbuktu. A scholar whispers. We buried them with the sand they choked on. You wake thirsty. Ceiling grains still float. Cat bats 1. Date 1672. Tomorrow's problem. The floorboard creaks under your bare foot. A splintered metronome counting sleepless hours. Dawn dust clings to the albatross feather jutting from the chest's lid. 16 primary barbs. 11 tertiary. You count to steady your hands. Sirat stings your nostrils. Mariners once believed harming an albatross summoned rogue waves. Coleridge just watered down the gossip. This quill's shaft bends like a hangman's hook. Indigo crusts its tip. You pluck it. A single down fluff drifts, landing on the cat's nose. He sneezes a half-hearted hex. Historians still argue whether 18th century sailors tattooed coordinates with albatross bone needles. This quill's tip proves nothing unless a W1721 scratched near the nib counts. You twirl it. The vein slices sunlight into nautical stars. Fringe tidbit. Pacific tribes used grounded albatross femurs as flute reed cutters. This one's hollow core hums when you blow. The note matches your microwave's dying tone. Coincidence? The cat covers his ears. Indigo crumbles onto your jeans. Pre-dye era recipe. Fermented mollusk mucus mixed with lye. Your thighs now sport Tyrian purple streaks. Dry cleaners will judge. You scrape samples into a ramen lid labeled "Do not eat" in Sharpie. The quill trembles. Writes on your wrist without contact. Skin bubbles. You dunk your arm in leftover chai. Steam hisses. The dash fades, leaving a scar shaped like a schooner's wake. 1792 shipping logs mention cursed scribes whose quills bled blue. You click a ballpoint pen. Nothing. The albatross quill stabs your doodle of a boat. Paper ignites. Flames spiral into tiny waterspouts. Fire alarm stays silent. Conspiracy. Moon phase app says neap tide. The quill's shadow stretches into a rigging lattice on your wall. Touch it, frost forms. July heat wilts the ficus. The cat now wears a parka of his own shed fur. Retrieve tongs from the ramen deterrent kit. Grip the quill. It levitates, drags you toward the window. You counterbalance with a yoga ball. Overcast sky mirrors a lead-weighted sea. A pigeon lands on the sill. Quill jerks. Writes mu letter 1 FC6 nu iota nu in ancient Greek, your last semester's nightmare. Pigeon regurgitates an anchovy onto your slipper. The cat negotiates a truce. Mainstream fact. British naval uniforms switched from indigo to synthetic dyes after whale population collapse. Your jeans whisper otherwise, salt crust blooming into octopus tentacles. You change into sweatpants. Bad decision. The quill follows. Bury it in rice. Bigger mistake. Grains morph into maggots. The cat files a formal complaint via hairball. 3 a.m. The quill etches longitude coordinates on your ceiling. Cross-referencing reveals a point near the Mariana Trench. Google Maps glitches, showing a pixelated albatross circling the void. Autocomplete suggests how to summon krakens. You decline. Fingerprint scanner at work rejects you. Indigo stains red usurper in UV light. HR schedules a chat. The cat FaceTimes a bird feeder. Return home. Quill floats in a margarita glass of vinegar. It's drawing spirals in the air, each loop smaller. Atmospheric pressure drops. Eardrums whine. The cat's tail becomes a barometer needle. Last resort. Return it to the chest. Hinge shrieks, waking the downstairs neighbor. He pounds his ceiling. You hum the omega-3 commercial jingle. Quill relents, settles atop the Sicily map. Dawn leaks through haze. The chest exhales salt. Indigo stain on your floor now spells vultus, Latin for face. You pour bleach. The stain becomes a triptych of weeping eyes. Cat bats the quill into the recycling bin. Sticky note on a beer bottle reads, "Sorry, born to be mild." The quill doesn't argue. Rent agreement renewal arrives. Landlord adds a no avian artifacts clause. You initial it. The pen sprouts feathers. Washing machine murders the indigo genes. Cycle ends. Every garment inside dyed voyageur blue. Even the cat's mice toys. They now smell like low tide. Canal tour guide shouts outside. Albatross sightings rare in the Adriatic. Crowd gasps. You close the blinds. The quill writes Audi Alteram Partum on the glass. Let the other side be heard. Sleep claims you sprawled atop tide charts. The quill writes sonnets in your hair. They rhyme in Old Norse. Your snores translate them. Dream of a captain scribbling under hurricane lamps. His logbook eats the quill inch by inch. Every word costs a wing joint, he warns. You wake with feather fragments in your teeth. Morning light, the quill lies snapped, its membranes desiccated. Indigo dust outlines a wingspan on the floor. 8 feet. The cat measures it with yarn. You vacuum. The machine coughs up a scale model of the Flying Dutchman. Instructions unclear. Brew coffee. Albatross shadow eclipses the sun for 3 seconds. Flock of sparrows recites Poe. Decaf won't fix this. The chest creaks, its belly full of restless feathers. You latch it. The quill's remnants glow through the wood grain. Morse code. Maybe. The cat taps his water dish. Doubtful. Street cleaner's hose hits the curb. Runoff swirls indigo toward the drain. It spells REMANEO before vanishing. You shrug. Order dumplings. The cat approves. Dusk. The quill's shadow flies west toward the real mariners. Or the Mariana Trench's pixelated bird. You count 18 stars before the streetlights quench them. Bedtime ritual. Check for feather splinters. Find one in your sock. It writes soon on the bathroom mirror. Steam erases it. The cat files his claws. Contrarian. The latch clicks, a sound too final for hinges crusted with 4 centuries of salt. Empty chests shouldn't weigh this much. You press an ear to the lid. Wood hums, the way ship masts sang before typhoons. 17th century Venetian merchants lined their chests with crushed cork to muffle contraband gemstones. This one's interior breathes. Your pinky traces the cedar interior, snags on a splinter. Blood beads. Drips. Down in the shadowed corner, it pools into a miniature Adriatic. Historians still argue whether sailors drank diluted mercury to balance humors or just hallucinated mermaids. You blot the blood with a pizza napkin. The stain becomes a fleet of caravels. Candlelight reveals claw marks beneath the velvet lining. 3 parallel gouges, too narrow for human fingers. Fringe tidbit. Elizabethan rat catchers believed seafaring rodents could open locks with their tails. A moth flutters out, its wings mottled like old charts. It lands on your shoulder, speaks in the cat's voice, tuna or mutiny. You slam the lid. The chest belches a fog smelling of pickled capers and gunpowder. Glass shatters in the kitchen, the cat's vodka-filled water bowl, no doubt. Maps don't breathe. Wood doesn't sigh. The rational explanation, sleep deprivation, the irrational one. Venice's naval archives mention chests that outlived their captains, though archivists whisper that part. Moonlight bleaches the floorboards. You kick the chest. A hollow thunk reverberates. 23 years ago, same sound when you knocked on your ex's coffin. Too soon. The cat slow blinks his agreement. Inspect the exterior. Brass fittings, green with patina, twist into sea serpent shapes under scrutiny. One eye socket lacks its garnet. You poke it. A wind howls through non-existent cracks. A Leipzig storm squeezed into your studio. Papers avalanche off the fridge. Every takeout menu floats in formation. A paper armada. The cat swats a soy sauce packet submarine. His claws unsheath, dreads the upcoming battle of leftover lo mein. You lunge for the chest. It's warm. Faint pulse beneath the wood grain. Mainstream fact. Constantinople's shipbuilders treated timber with vinegar and honey to repel shipworms. This chest's heartbeat suggests darker preservatives. Inside, nothing. Still nothing. You dangle a Bluetooth speaker over the void. Play Vivaldi's Storm. The chest coughs up a barnacle-encrusted iPod. Shuffle mode blasts sea shanties. The moth translates lyrics. They involve a mermaid's Wi-Fi password. Dawn approaches. Your reflection blurs in the chest's lid, pupils dilated black as squid ink. A bubble rises from the cedar depths. Pops. Releases the scent of your grandfather's pipe tobacco. He died at sea, supposedly. The cat sniffs, hacks up a sailor's knot made of fur. Weight returns. The chest now holds a single dried fig. You bite it, tastes of salted honey and regret. Merchants traded these for Ottoman spices, sailed them past Venetian customs in wax-sealed jars. Your molars grind on something metallic, a signet ring. No, a fuse cap from a 16th century cannon. The fig stem uncurls, becomes a scorpion. It zips into the bathroom. The cat follows, emerges wearing a tiny life vest. You Google fig scorpion symbiosis. Autocomplete suggests, are you lonely? By noon, the chest mocks you with normalcy. Store blankets. Pretend it's furniture. The moth builds a cocoon in the lock. The cat sharpens claws on its corners, leaves grooves that spell beware in Morse code. Breathe. 3 yoga exhales. The chest exhales back 4. Passive aggressive. Tibetan singing bowl meditation fails when the chest harmonizes in B-flat. Neighbors bang the wall. The cat files a noise complaint via shredded curtain. Sunset stains the room merlot red. You drag the chest to the window, heave it open. Air hisses out, a decompression sigh. Venice's canals glint below. 12 generations of gondoliers blamed similar chests for midnight ripples. The water's whispering now. Sounds like trespass. You drop a pebble inside. No splash. Lean closer. A breeze sucks your hair into the void. Strands return streaked white. The cat tugs you back. His tail puffs into a distress signal. Midnight. The chest sprouts fungus, velvet black growths that hum Gregorian chants. Vinegar spray scalds your sinuses. The mold dissipates into an aroma of burnt incense and wet dog. Historians still argue whether the Holy Inquisition banned seafaring chests in 1592. The cat disagrees, hisses at a lichen formation shaped like a cardinal's hat. By 3 a.m., resignation sets in. You place a totem inside, a Starbucks coaster, half a Xanax, the scorpion's abandoned life vest. The chest digests them, burps, its lock rusts shut. Last check flashlight beam dances across the interior. Nothing, not even dust. You sneeze. The echo lasts 13 seconds, long enough for the chest to whisper your full name, including the middle one you legally erased in 2017. The cat claims the chest as his throne. Snores vibrate through the wood. You dream of drowning in honeyed vinegar. Wake to find the chest floating. Levitates 3 inches off the floor. Takeout menus orbit it, loyal satellites. The landlord texts, "Keep weird antiques quiet." You reply with a skull emoji. His red receipt flickers like a dying lighthouse. By week's end, the chest migrates to the hallway, develops a patina of pizza grease and ennui. The cat befriends the mold. You consider donating it. Thrift store refuses, says it's too sentient. Rain taps the window, a staccato rhythm. The chest drums along. Cedar sides ripple. Grain patterns rearrange into a face. Yours, but aged. Salt-etched. A future version who sailed too far. You close the blinds. The chest quiets. For now. Tomorrow weld the hinges, or baptize it in the canal, or learn to love the hum. Laughter bubbles up, a sound as hollow as the chest itself. Venice survives on swallowed secrets. What's one more? You slide a love note inside, unsigned. Let it become someone else's mystery. Moonlight leaks through the blinds, a thief, unpicking the room's stitching. Your shadow climbs the wall, stretches into rigging lines. Fingers splay, become frayed rope ends. The floor tilts, not metaphorically. Your IKEA rug bunches into ocean swells. Mainstream fact. Venetian captains swore oaths on the Libro d'Oro before voyages, then scratched out names if sailors drowned. The cat's water dish slides portside. He glares, first mate energy. A draft chills your neck, smells of tar and oranges. Historians still argue whether Renaissance sailors navigated by starlight, or Segui, l'amber malizios, followed mischievous shadows, thought to guide ships. The wall shadow jerks your arm upward. You're saluting something, or waving goodbye. The cat hisses at your silhouette's new hat, a tricorn woven from cobwebs. Your spine straightens, captain posture muscle memory you never earned. The chest creaks like a brigantine's hull. Quirky tidbit. 16th century deckhands believed their shadows could be stolen by selkies if moonlight hit water at a 23-degree angle. Your shadows, legs fuse into a mast, knees creak, old timber sounds. Your captain now, captain of a studio apartment listing starboard. The AC unit's hum becomes a bosun's whistle. Mold patches on the ceiling swirl, form constellations. That one's definitely Ursa Major. Or a rat sneeze. You bark orders to no one. Reef the mainsail. Batten down the recycling bin. The cat obliges, knocks over a LaCroix can. It rolls, a cannon loose below decks. Weight shifts in your boots, imaginary ones, since you're barefoot. Floorboards groan, authentic stresses. There's a trick to this. Venetian captains trained on landlocked mock ships called bucentauri, floating stages for mock storms. Your shadow's hand grips a wheel that isn't there. Palms blisters. For real, the cat rubs against your calf, a furry anchor. Shadows deepen. The rigging's silhouette merges with actual window mullions, a hybrid ship. You're helming a vessel half real, half IKEA. The chest vibrates, engine room of a ghost galleon. A moth flutters into your ear. Whispers coordinates. 41. 8,781 degrees N. 87. 6,298 degrees W. That's Chicago. Inland. The moth coughs, recants, meant to say the Aegean. Salt crusts your lips. Not from tears, the chest sweats briny droplets. Your shadow's arm snaps left. Hard aport. A bookshelf lunges, its bulkhead impersonation almost Oscar-worthy. Paperbacks avalanche. Moby Dick slides into your ankle. Foreshadowing. The cat leaps to the top shelf, crow's nest privileges. Wind. In a sealed room, it plasters your shirt like wet sailcloth. You blink, a reflex against phantom spray. When lids lift, the wall shadow's gone. Just your trembling outline remains. The chest exhales a chord that matches your tinnitus. A major seventh. Pirates hated that interval, considered it bad luck. The cat hums it back. Treble clef sarcasm. Moonlight retreats. The rug flattens, geography reverting to gentler lies. Your shadow slips free of the rigging mirage, returns to basic human shape. The cat headbutts your shin, demands a recount of the battle. You tally casualties. 1 potted fern capsized, a spilled kombucha moat, dignity AWOL, dawn leaks in jaundice yellow. The wall's just a wall again. Mostly. If you squint, the shadow of the curtain rod still looks like a listing mast. The chest sulks in the corner, its aura of grandeur dimmed. You half expect it to mutiny, dump your socks on the floor. Your hand throbs. Red lines lattice the palm rope burn from imaginary rigging. The cat licks it. His tongue rasps like a file on barnacles. Venetian sailors treated wounds with wine and honey. You settle for hand sanitizer. It bubbles neon blue, probably cursed. The chest remains shut. Mockingly so. but the air still tastes of imminent horizons. You open Spotify, play Vivaldi's Missing Movement, Tempest in a studio apartment. The cat yowls tenor. Together, you hold the final note, a sustained defiance of landlubber physics. Someone pounds the ceiling. Downstairs neighbor, a man who once called Venetian canals overpriced drainage ditches. Your shadow flicks a phantom spyglass toward the noise, plotting revenge. The cat knocks a pen off the desk. Broadside fired. By noon, the spell fades mostly. You doodle a ship in the margin of a gas bill. The lines waver amateur rigging. Quill pens would have helped. Ottomans introduced Venice to coffee, but forgot to include steady hands. The cat bats the pen, adds a squid battling a mermaid. Art critics would call it derivative. Sunset stirs the room again. Shadows stretch, play innocently at first. Then your silhouette twitches, a spasm of old nautical ambitions. The chest's lock clicks, not invitation, not warning. Just another punctuation mark in a story that outlives its captain. You switch on the overhead light, banish shadows to corners. They'll return. Salt always wins. The cat yawns, reveals a tiny anchor tattoo on his gum line. You pretend not to notice. Some voyages aren't yours to command. The wall stays blank. For now. But when moonlight next unpicks the dark, you'll brace. Trim the sails, type C ports as cannon ports. Whatever it takes. Venice wasn't drowned in a day. Dawn smears the porthole if you squint. That HVAC duct is a porthole with yoke light. Gulls cry. Neighbor's ringtone, but let's pretend. Salt crusts your nostrils. Real salt. You lick a windowsill, confirmed. Scholars claim Venetian ships imported 3 tons of Adriatic salt yearly for preserving cod and hiding contraband. The chest snoozes by your bed, its brass latches dulled. Maps curl inside like sleeping dogs. A breeze riffles the blinds, brings brine and a whiff of diesel Hudson River or hallucination. Historians still argue whether 16th century sailors drank seawater mixed with vinegar. The answer's in your sinuses. Your tongue feels pickled. The cat sniffs your knee, makes a face. Yeah, I taste like ramen seasoning too. Floorboards groan, settling or protesting. You shuffle to the kitchen, navigating by coffee smell. Mug handle becomes a ship's wheel. Mainstream fact. Venetian captains tested their helmsman's grip by hiding eels in the spokes. Your espresso machine gurgles, steam as storm surge. The cat yowls for anchovies. You surrender the last tin. Pirate tribute. Sunlight pries through clouds, bombards your fire escape. Pigeons flock. Squint, their wings become schooner sails. One bird's got a Cheeto bag stuck on its foot. Tragic. Majestic, quirky tidbit. Renaissance sailors wore dried seagull feet amulets to avoid drowning. You pocket a pigeon feather just in case. Chest creaks, no, that's your knees. You're older now. Or maybe Venice aged you. The cat bats a dust bunny, calls it mutinous. Your shadows shrunk, noonday sun shrinks empires. You miss the rigging silhouette. Miss the blistered palms. The chest stays shut, respects boundaries. For now. A tanker horn moans in the distance. Real geography, state and islands that way. You check Google Maps. They've never heard of the storm-swallowed isles. The cat sprawls on the chest. His purr syncs with the radiator's clank, engine room lullaby. Your phone pings. Storm warning. You grin. The chest shivers, maybe a laugh. Rain taps Morse code on glass. You nap. Dreams unfold. Not dreams, memories inked by someone else's hand. Moonrise finds you adrift in sheets, a life raft of flannel. The chest exhales bergamot and gunpowder. Historians still argue whether Venetian fireworks displays were art or naval signals. A siren wails outside ambulance or aeronise. The cat yawns, unimpressed. You drift. Dawn blurs the window, that crooked rectangle of watered light. Your eyelids weigh anchor. Salt still powders your lips, fossilized sweat from sailors long dissolved. The chest yawns at your bedside, its maps dreaming in slow parchment breath. Someone's trash barge churns the harbor, or maybe it's the echo of oars. You don't check. The radiator ticks, approximation of a ship's chronometer. Folded time. A distant ice truck backs up, its beep beep beep, a sonar pulse. Historians know, storytellers whisper that Venetian tides once obeyed glassblow's breath. Your exhale fogs the glass. Draw a starfish. Watch it vanish. The cat needs your shin, declares you adequate. His purr harmonizes with the fridge's hum. True fact. Galley cooks sang lullabies to fermenting sauerkraut. You don't fact-check this. The chest's latch glimmers, dull bronze winking. You count its nailheads like sheep. Traffic murmurs grow liquid tires on wet pavement, becoming wave slaps. Your pinky finger remembers rope burns. Phantom callus. The nightstand holds a shard of driftwood, relic, or firewood. Doesn't matter. It hums when you stroke it. Your tea steeps, sachet bobs like a message buoy. Steam scrolls upward, untranslated hieroglyphs. The cat steals your chair, claims it for Barcelona. You let him. Empires rise and fall in the time it takes chamomile to cool. A moth taps the lampshade, papyrus lantern in another life. You switch off the light. The chest exhales cedar, iron, a sigh of cardamom. Street lamps paint tide lines on the ceiling. Your spine uncoils, kelp in a gentle current. The storm warning fizzles, rain retreating to static. The cat's tail becomes a metronome. Slow, slower. Your breath sinks to 5 count. 4-3 floorboards stop their creaking. The radiator stills. Even the moth settles. The chest clicks soft as a sundial shadow. You don't open it. Some maps stay folded. Some voyages end where they began. Darkness folds over you, a velvet chart. No compass, no north, only the faintest purr at the edge of hearing. And the taste of salt, always the salt.